Run!
Mel?
Hey everyone, and welcome to this reflection on season 20 Snore. I mean season 24. I mean season 24. Sorry, season 24 of Doctor Who.
The beginning of the end, folks.
What's happened to my favorite show? What's happened? God,
No more.
damn it! Fuck you, JNT. Sorry.
Yeah, season 24, the first season for Sylvester McCoy as a Doctor, and yeah, things were going to change with this season, and not for the better. There's 4 stories in this season, and Colin Baker refused to come back for the first story time, the Rani, because he was fired from the role. So instead, we have Sylvester McCoy posing as Colin Baker in a curly wig. So yeah, we have 4 stories in this season, and we're going to start off with Time in the Rani. But before we hand over to Alan, I think we should all appear on camera and toast this shitty season.
Oh, God.
Open 1, and I'm going to open 2.
Okay, I'm going to make my drink now. I'm going to make my drink. You guys have to give me a minute. I'm going to make, it's a very simple drink anybody can make. I'm calling it the Coke Zero Sugar Cognac. You take 1 can of Coke Zero Sugar, like so. And if I can just get the can open, hold on a minute. There we go. And there you go. Pour into glass, like so. Pour. There you go. Making my
It's better than
drink.
this season of Doctor Who.
Hold on. And then you take 1 bottle of cognac. And no, I'm not going to put the whole bottle in there, but hold on. Get it out. There you go. 1 shot glass of cognac.
I think we need to reuse that glass tonight, Alan.
Yeah, fill her up. There you go. Hold on. Gotta go 1 step at a time. Put away the cognac bottle. There we go. Hold on. Pour a little more. The glass still isn't full yet. Finish off that can of Coke Zero Sugar. There we go. That's as high as it goes. And then you take your shot glass of cognac, pour it right in there. Right there. Stir. Stir it up, baby. And down the hatch.
Cheers, fellas.
Don't drink it all at once because I'm going to need some for later. Oh, God.
Yeah. That's why I'm alternating between beers.
Oh, my God. Woo! Oh, yeah. Taste the cognac in there.
This tastes better than the season.
Oh, God. Boy, am I going to need it today.
Well, it's better than the taste after my mouth at the end of the first story.
Really? Oh, God.
Give some to Sonny.
Cheers.
Sonny, have a drink too.
Yeah. He's in the other room. But he's fine. He's just resting. He's soaking up the sun rays from the window. You know, cats love the sun rays. Yeah.
There's the sun rays in this season. I can't see them.
Well, for me, there's 1, but only 1, which is still a terrible batting average for Doctor Who. It really is. Oy.
It's an all-time low.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Oh, God.
Okay, so Alan, if you're ready, that is, give us your thoughts on Sylvester McCoy's first story, Time in the Rani.
Oh, God. I'm reminded of Robert De Niro in Raging Bull. Why? Oh, because that's what I feel like doing right now. You know, this is a horrible time in the history of Doctor Who, as you know. I mean, the classic Doctor Who series is literally on the way out. It's limping along now because of low ratings, and maybe the show, the original Doctor Who series, is starting to outstay its welcome, I guess, because the terrible direction that the show is going in now.
Thanks, J&T.
Yeah, thank you very fucking much, J&T. Yeah, J&T, who's already stayed much too long as the producer. Although apparently the story goes is that by this point, he saw the writing on the wall that Doctor Who was in serious trouble and there really wasn't much more that he could do with the show, and he wanted to leave. He wanted to go, but nobody wanted the producer gig at Doctor Who. That's the only reason why
can't imagine why.
J&T. That's the only reason why J&T stayed to the end, because nobody wanted the producer gig for Doctor Who. So he had to stay. Otherwise, the show would have been canceled right then and there. And another thing, we also have to throw major blame at the jerk BBC controller at the time, Michael Grade, who made it no secret at all that he was no Doctor Who fan, and it was his decision to put the show on hiatus after Colin Baker's first season. Put the show on hiatus for 18 months so the show could be re-evaluated and reassessed and
on trial.
Yeah, and I think it was his decision. It might have been his decision. I don't know. Maybe you guys can confirm it. I think it was Michael Grade's decision to do Trial of a Time Lord because, well, the show is on trial, so let's make the show more interesting by putting the Doctor on trial.
Wow!
Even though they already had all the stories for Colin Baker's second season lined up and ready to go. I mean, they hadn't shot anything, but all the scripts were written, they were ready to go, and all of those stories were thrown out the window at the last minute, and they did Trial of a Time Lord instead. Nice going. Nice fucking going. I mean, the finished product I thought was entertaining enough, but it's not the way Doctor Who should be done. The format of it, of cutting between story and courtroom scene, story, courtroom scene, story, courtroom scene. I felt so bad for Colin Baker. He shouldn't have been made to do that. And then, of course, after Trial of a Time Lord was aired, Colin Baker was fired. Because in the mind of BBC controller Michael Grade, the reason why Doctor Who sucked was because of Colin Baker. It's all Colin Baker's fault. He sucks as the Doctor. Nobody likes him. And J&T has to get rid of him. And obviously, it wasn't J&T who fired Colin Baker. It was Michael Grade, J&T's boss, who fired Colin Baker. And he told J&T, you got to get rid of Colin Baker. Colin Baker sucks. He's the reason why Doctor Who sucks these days. And get rid of him. You have to recast the role of the Doctor. Put another actor in as the Doctor, and everything on Doctor Who will be fixed. You'll make Doctor Who great again if you get rid of Colin Baker.
Make Doctor Who great again.
Yeah. Hint, hint. Yeah. That's not, that was Michael Grade's attitude. You'll make Doctor Who great again if you just get rid of Colin Baker and hire another actor, because I'm not going to renew Doctor Who unless you get another actor. So J&T had no choice. It wasn't his decision. It was Michael Grade's decision to get rid of Colin Baker. And Colin Baker, of course, was not happy about this. Colin Baker, he loved playing the Doctor. Say what you want about his performance as the Doctor, but Colin Baker really, truly loved playing the Doctor, and he wanted to be the longest-serving Doctor. He wanted to beat Tom Baker's record of 7 years, and now he was being told that, nope, you're being kicked out the door after only 2 seasons because the BBC controller doesn't like you. Colin Baker, he made a plea to say, okay, if you want me to leave, all right, I'll leave, but can I at least do 1 more season? Because I've really only done 2 seasons. Can I please do 1 more season? And Michael Grade said, nope, you suck. You have to leave now. So J&T went to bat for Colin, and he said to Michael Grade, well, can Colin Baker at least do 1 more story? Because at least that would set up the regeneration into the next Doctor. And Michael Grade goes, okay, fine, you can bring Colin Baker back for 1 more story, but that's it. 1 more story and he's out. So I don't blame Colin Baker for saying to Michael Grade in the end, fuck you, Michael Grade, I'm not coming back. So I don't blame him. He got treated like shit in the end, and that was just so unfair. Whether you like Colin Baker's Doctor or you don't, I like Colin Baker's Doctor, but he was treated very, very unfairly at the end. So Colin Baker, you have my respect. You have my sympathies for what happened. But very understandably, Colin Baker refused to come back to do 1 more story. So therefore, he refused to come back to do the regeneration. So what happened was that as the next Doctor, the 7th Doctor, we got Sylvester Mccoy, a Scottish actor. I'm honest with you. I'm not familiar with any of his other work, but I know he had done a lot of theater work. He may have done some other film and television, but apparently he was well known for his theater work. I guess. Yeah, he was JNT's pick to be the next Doctor, and maybe because of the criticism that the first half of Colin Baker's era, well, the first season, the criticism that Colin Baker's first season got for the violence that was in that first season, they wanted to lighten things up. They wanted to pour on the humor, and they wanted a more lighthearted Doctor for this season, by order of Michael Grade. So okay, they got rid of Colin Baker, and they hired Sylvester McCoy as the seventh Doctor, and then we all got to watch Sylvester McCoy's debut in Time in the Ranny. Did anything on Doctor Who get fixed? No! Nothing was fixed. Changing the lead actor didn't do shit. I mean, Time in the Ranny is awful. This story sucks. It's a piece of shit. It's the worst Doctor Who story I've ever seen in my life, and that's combining both the classic series and the new series. I hate this story. I fucking hate it. It's awful. It's fucking awful. Changing the lead actor didn't do anything to fix Doctor Who. And it's nothing against Sylvester McCoy. For the record, I like Sylvester McCoy. I think he's a good Doctor. He definitely reminds me of Patrick Troughton. He's a very hobo-ish kind of Doctor, like Troughton was.
Very eccentric.
Yeah, very eccentric. And McCoy has never made it a secret that Patrick Troughton is his favorite Doctor. So I can see how McCoy might have taken a few elements of Troughton's Doctor for his own portrayal of the Doctor. But I have to say, when I rank all of the Doctors pre-Jodie Whittaker, sorry, I haven't seen Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. I don't want to see Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. I'm sorry. I prefer the Doctor as a dude, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I love women, but I don't love the Doctor as a woman, okay? The Doctor to me is a man, and that's my opinion, okay? But when I rank all of the Doctors pre-Jodie Whittaker, McCoy comes in at the bottom for me. I like him. He's a good Doctor, but he's the Doctor that I like the least. Not because of McCoy himself, but because the writing during his era and the production of the show itself, more often than not, was just so bad. The quality had clearly gone down. I mean, McCoy, thankfully, would still get a handful of good stories. Okay, so I'm not saying his era is a total washout. Goodness no, he has a handful of stories that I do like. Thank God. But more often than not, I mean, the quality of the show has totally gone down. I mean, for starters, they're not using film anymore to shoot the location stuff for Doctor Who. Now everything is shot on videotape, although they started that with the previous season, Trial of a Time Lord with Colin Baker. And there were a couple of times in the past where they shot everything on videotape for like the Tom Baker stories, Robot and Sontaran Experiment. But now full time, everything is shot on videotape. And so Doctor Who has a very cheap look to it. Also, the season was cut down. The season was cut down nearly in half, I guess, as another cost-cutting measure. Instead of getting 6 or 7 stories per season, now we're only getting 4 stories. And the ratings on the show have gone down, way, way down by this point. And somehow they brought McCoy on board in the hopes that he could somehow save the show. And, McCoy didn't really save the show. I mean, he helped the show lumber along, sputter along for 3 more seasons. But that was it, really. I mean, I said this in my review of Time in the Ranny, I'll say it here, that I really felt McCoy inherited a sinking ship. He really did. I mean, the show was already on the way out. I think it was a little too late in the day by this point to bring in another Doctor. I mean, what was the point, as history has proven? But McCoy, God bless him. I mean, he went in there. He gave it his very best shot. And, okay, he got to do 3 seasons, 12 stories in all. But no, he was not able to save the show. I mean, it was, the classic Doctor Who series was clearly on its last legs. It was breathing its last breaths, and didn't have much more left to go. And on top of that, I mean, they gave McCoy a horrible, horrible debut story, Time in the Ranny, written by Pip and Jane Baker. I mean, it's just awful. It's just really, truly awful. I mean, first of all, Colin Baker refused to come back to do the regeneration, so McCoy had to do the regeneration scene solo. They had him wear a Colin Baker curly wig, and the first time we see the Doctor, it's supposed to be the sixth Doctor lying on the floor of the TARDIS, because apparently the Ronnie has been pursuing the Doctor's TARDIS, and she attacks the Doctor's TARDIS. And I think the explanation for what happened to the Doctor, because I never fully explained it in this story, but I did read the first few pages of the novelization for Time of the Rani. I mean, I read it many years ago in a comic book shop, just the opening chapter. But the explanation in the book was that apparently, the Rani is attacking the Doctor and Mel in the TARDIS, and apparently there was this big explosion in the console room, and I guess the Doctor, the sixth Doctor, was standing too close to the explosion, and boom, that's what triggered off his regeneration. Although they don't really make it clear in the story. And also, if there really was a big mother explosion in the console room, wouldn't there be like smoke and some fire, and maybe the sixth Doctor would have some soot on his outfit? And
well, maybe if they had a budget, yes.
Yeah, really. Exactly, if they had a budget for it, but they didn't do any of that, so it really wasn't clear how the Doctor regenerated. But apparently that's what it was. Big explosion in the console room. The Doctor was standing too close to it. Boom, and that's what triggered the regeneration, apparently. We see McCoy in the Colin Baker wig. He's lying face down on the floor. The Ronnie comes in, and she turns him over, or one of her Tetrap servants turns him over, and they immediately put special effects on the Doctor's face. It's really McCoy in a wig, but the special effects on his face, the special effects go away, the wig goes away. Presto changeo, we have a new Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. I understand that was the only way they could do it, since Colin Baker wouldn't come back. But I mean, what else could they do? But it is, for all intents and purposes, a lame regeneration. But oh well.
And did they have to keep Mel? Did they really have to keep Mel?
Really, yeah. Mel, oh my God, yes. She's another reason why I hate this story so much. We'll get to her shortly. But another thing that makes it bad, I mean, the script is just awful. I mean, they poured on the comedy way too thick in the story, and so many of the gags just don't work. Many of the lines are really bad, groan-inducing lines, and they're just not funny. And another thing, I mean, they make the Ronnie, the villainess of the piece, they make her look like a complete idiot. I felt so bad for Kate O'Mara, because she was such a marvelous villainess in her previous Doctor Who story, Mark of the Rani, with Colin Baker. I mean, she had a lot of style, she had a lot of elegance. I mean, she's the villainess. She's one of the two baddies in this story, along with the Master, but she's got a lot of elegance, a lot of style about her. She has a lot of presence. But here in Time of the Rani, she's just a stereotypical, wah, I'm evil, wah. And she looks stupid. And then for some of the story, they have her dress up as Mel. And
what?
I mean, what the hell? And apparently she did this as a way to fool the Doctor. But Kate O'Mara doesn't look anything like Bonnie Langford. It's pretty obvious. I mean, is the Doctor really an idiot? He's not.
Yeah, I know he's just regenerated, but he can't be that discombobulated to not know who it is. And also, she's not even trying to impersonate her screaming or her voice that well. So it's just stupid.
Totally stupid. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that the Doctor would be so easily fooled by the Rani here when she dresses up as Mel. That's just ridiculous. Yeah, and I felt so bad for Kate O'Mara. I mean, she didn't have to come back. I mean, right at this point in her acting career, she was doing really well. She also got good notices for playing Joan Collins' sister on the popular show Dynasty. And at the time that they did Time of the Rani, so I guess this would be 1989, wouldn't it? Kate O'Mara had a choice. She could either go back to Dynasty for another season to play Joan Collins' sister, or she could come back to do Doctor Who and play the Rani again. And I think in the end, she made the wrong choice. She should have gone back to Dynasty. And especially when you consider that the Rani is a time lady, so she could have easily regenerated since we last saw her, and they could have brought in another actress to play the Rani, and it would have been perfectly fine. But Kate O'Mara decided to go back to Doctor Who, but she's made to look a complete fool in this story. And I mean, yeah, dressing up as Mel, the physical comedy. I mean, I felt so bad for her. I really, really felt bad for Kate O'Mara.
I think the word
didn't
comedy
even-
is an overstatement for what this is.
I
Maybe
know.
it's unintentional comedy, but yeah.
Yeah. No, she was a great villainess in Mark of the Randy, but here she's made to look like an idiot, just a stereotypical wah wah kind of villainess, and she's made to look like an idiot, and I felt so bad for her. Bonnie Langford as Mel. Well, I mean, you said it in your review, Ollie. She screams the house down in the story. Just I have never heard a Doctor Who companion scream so fucking much as Mel does in this story. It's just one blood-curdling scream after another, after another, after another, from start to finish in this story. When
She's
she's
the
not,
companion that will make you have to get a hearing aid because
I
she'll
know. It's
make
like
you
she's
go
trying
deaf.
to. Yeah, it's like she's trying to break the sound barrier with her screaming. I mean, when Bonnie Langford's not screaming, she's okay. I mean, she's a good actress. She's cute. I do like that cute little pixie-ish speaking voice that she has. It's not her fault. It's just that the character is so horribly written,
Yeah.
and I mean so much so that Mel is my least favorite Doctor Who companion. She's the companion that I put all the way down at the bottom. I don't blame Bonnie Langford herself, but I blame the writers for doing such a shitty job in writing this character. I mean, no wonder Bonnie Langford split at the end of this season. She didn't like the character. I didn't like the character. I don't think we liked the character. And
So Bonnie Langford chose to leave because she didn't like the character.
basically, yeah. I think she knew that she was just they were just having her being a screaming damsel in distress, and there's only so many times you can scream before you say that's it, enough. I want to go do something else. And I mean, she already had done other film and television work. She did stage work. I mean, she did a successful run playing Peter Pan in a stage production of Peter Pan. So she certainly didn't need to do Doctor Who. So I think for her, I guess 1.5 seasons. She was in Trial of a Time Lord with Colin Baker. 1.5 seasons for her was enough, and who can blame her? But she's just a total screaming damsel in distress in the story, and it's just dreadful. Her screaming in the story, so dreadful. That one scene where she's trapped in that flying bubble in episode 1, and she's just screaming and screaming and screaming. Oh God, you just can't stand it. Another thing I hate about this story: the music. The music score is awful. It's these horrible synthesizer. I mean, whenever somebody runs in Time of the Randy, we hear neater, 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 neater. I mean, that's the running music. They have running music in the story. Anytime somebody runs in Time of the Randy, we hear neater, 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 neater. And those synthesizers that, when something exciting is supposed to be happening, they play this ding, 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 ding. It's like the musician is just hitting the keyboards at random, not really composing anything. They're just hitting random keys. I mean, I can do that. You can do that. And I mean, the rearrangement of the theme tune, I'm not too crazy about it. I mean, to me, it just sounds too cold, too 80s synthesizer. I mean, I thought the rearrangement they did starting with Tom Baker's final season, where we see the Starfield, I thought that was good because it had that real atmospheric kind of whoosh kind of sound, like we're traveling through space in the Starfield. And I thought that the sound of those synthesizers was really good. But this new arrangement, it just sounds too cold and too, to me, it doesn't quite work. And also the title sequence where we see, was it like we're supposed to see like a galaxy swirling around, and we see the TARDIS, and then we see McCoy's face, and then he winks at us. Even that looks kind of cheap, It's to me, it doesn't quite work. So everything about Doctor Who now looks really, really cheap. They are really doing Doctor Who on a low budget right now. For
the logo as well. I hate the logo.
Yeah, the logo. Who came up with that logo? I guess because, hey, it was the late 80s and they wanted something that had like a late 80s style to it, but it just looks too cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like the bubble letters in the title.
It could be the worst logo outside of the new logo. It could be one of the weaker ones for me.
You're probably right. Yeah, it just looks too cartoonish. Looks like something you'd see in a comic book, but not the TV show. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. To continue on, I mean, I don't care for any of the supporting characters. Nobody in the supporting cast stands out for me, so I'm not even going to mention any of them. But the people of this planet, the Lacertians, I guess that's what they're called, the Lacertians. Yeah, they look silly, you know, dressed up in like this orange greenish.
It's actually sorry, it's actually the Curtians.
Lacertians. Thank you.
Who cares? They're just shit, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay, Lacertians. Yeah, you're right. That's how it's pronounced. Lacertians. Thank you. But yeah, they look so ridiculous in their orange green outfits, and it looks like they have like these little manes at the back of their hair, and their makeup looks silly. And I don't give a shit about anybody playing the Lacertians. I just think they're nothing. The Tetraps that serve the Ronnie in this story, they're ridiculous. They look like a combination of bat and dog, and they've got eyes going all the way around their head. I mean, why? Why would you need eyes in the back and the size of your head as well as the front? And you know, that mistress, you know, that voice of theirs, and they just look ridiculous. I mean, I don't get it. JNT thought that this was fine. He thought that this would do. I don't get it. I mean, Doctor Who has become a cartoon with this story. It's a total cartoon. You can't take any of it seriously, not a bit. I don't find anything entertaining about the story. The only positive thing I can say is that I mean, I can see that Sylvester McCoy, being that this is his debut story, I mean, he's trying, and Bonnie Langford is trying, Kate O'Mara is trying, but the script they've been given is just awful. The direction on this story sucks too. Some of the physical stuff they do, I mean, I just think it's so pathetic when like there's this scene where the Doctor and the Ronnie have a little skirmish, and it's like he wraps a belt around her and pushes her on the table. He runs out of the room and he does this little kick as he runs around the corner. That's ridiculous. There's another scene where they push the Ronnie into this chamber, and they don't quite manage to push her all the way into the chamber, so you can see Kate O'Mara clearly crawling into the chamber. It looks stupid. It's a nothing story. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. I mean, okay, there's one, probably the scene that I like the most. Oh, I guess I have to mention. Okay, there's a cute scene when McCoy gets his outfit, and they decide to have him dress up as some of the previous Doctors. He puts on the Pertwee outfit. He puts on the Tom Baker outfit. He puts on the Peter Davison outfit. All of that is cute, and then he puts on his new garb. I think he looks fine, but God damn it, JNT has this obsession with question marks, because now all the question marks are not on McCoy's collar, but they're now on his sweater or jumper, as you say in Britain. But, you know, I'm an American, and we call that article of clothing a sweater, but sweater, jumper, whatever you want to call it. He's got question marks all over it. I don't know, why is JNT obsessed with question marks? Why did he think the question marks were a good idea in the first place? Starting with Tom Baker in his final season, and all the Doctors after that have to have the fucking question marks. And now McCoy's got it all in his sweater or jumper. It's just ridiculous. McCoy looks okay, though. It's a very hobo-ish outfit for him, but God damn it, those stupid fucking question marks on his chest. Jesus. Yeah, and I mean, one other scene that I do like for the most part is the scene where the Doctor and Mel having a little. It starts out as a little spat, but by the end of the scene, that they're friends again. It's like the Mel doesn't know for sure that the Doctor is really who he says he is. The Doctor doesn't seem to remember Mel all that well, but they have a little physical tussle for a bit, but then they decide, okay, hold out your hand, let me check your pulse, let me make sure you are who you say you are. I mean, Mel, of course, she needs to feel a double pulse coming from the Doctor because he has two hearts, and the Doctor wants to check out her pulse. And then, I mean, overall, it's a nice scene between them. And then when she finally realizes, yes, this is the Doctor she knew before, but he's regenerated, and the Doctor realizes, yes, this is my companion Mel. For the most part, that's a nice scene. But there's a stupid line in there, a stupid throwaway line, where the Doctor and Mel are checking each other's pulses out, and then all of a sudden Mel says, "I know all about regeneration, of course. You don't know shit about regeneration, Mel. You've never seen the Doctor regenerate before. How can you possibly know anything about regeneration? You know, what a stupid fucking line to have her say. And it's a total throwaway line. It doesn't even need to be there, you know? God, this story is just a mess. It's just a total fucking mess. For me, it's the worst debut story for any Doctor. The show is clearly showing its various issues that it has with just this one story. All is not well in the Doctor Who camp right now, and you can see it quite plainly in this one story. I felt bad. I really feel bad for Sylvester McCoy. This was a shitty way for him to start, a horrible way for him to start. This is not the way you want to kick off the new era of a Doctor. He's trying hard. Bonnie Langford's trying. Kato Mara's trying, but the script is awful. The direction is awful. The visual effects are awful. It's a nothing story. That Tom Baker story, The Leisure Hive, that's a Doctor Who story that I hate, as you know. And that story, I think we all hate that story, but that Doctor Who story made me angry. Time in the Rani makes me sad. This is just a very, very sad, depressing Doctor Who story to watch, because I'm watching my favorite TV show go down in flames right before me, and it's only going to get worse before it gets a little bit better. But it's going to keep going down the tubes for a while. But this story is just shit. It's just total shit. I think I've ranted enough about it. It's time for me to turn the microphone over to you guys. But I'm going to tell you right now, folks, this is my pick for the worst Doctor Who story I've ever seen in my life. It's that bad. It's not just bad, it's shockingly bad.
Well, you know what, Alan? It's a shame you're not going to go beyond Capaldi's first season, because you'll find a story in his second season that might just rival this as the worst. But I'll leave that for you to discover if you so choose to.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, there's still more Doctor Who for me to watch and review. And yes, you're right. I personally go as far as Peter Capaldi's first season. We'll talk about it in the future at length, but yeah, that's as far as I personally go with Doctor Who, is Capaldi's first season. Yeah, time, and you know I'm not going to touch the Jodie Whittaker era with a 10-foot pole. Don't get me wrong, ladies, I love you, but I prefer the Doctor as a dude, and that's that. Okay, sorry, that's how I am, and I stand by that. Time in the Rani, yeah, I hate this story. I really hate this story. I feel bad for McCoy and company that they had to do this. It's a piece of shit. JNT, shame on you. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Time in the Rani a rock bottom rating of 1 out of 10. And that 1 is only there just to be nice to Sylvester McCoy, Bonnie Langford, and Kato Mara, who are really trying hard. But the story surrounding them is just total shit. I hate this story. 1 out of 10 for Time in the Rani.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that spectacular rant, Alan. So now we're going to hear Ollie rant on this piece of shit. So take it away, buddy. Your thoughts on Time in the Rani.
Do I have to? Oh,
I think that sums it up.
why,
Let the hate flow you through.
Oh, fuck me. Oh, I'd rather have a prostate examination. Where do I begin?
Really?
Beer. 1, 2, 3.
Chug, chug, chug.
Oh, 2 beers for the price of 1,
Chug.
because this story fucking deserves it. Cheers, ladies.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Oh, I've never done 2 beers at the same time. Fucking Christ. Time in the Rani. Time in the Rani! This story sucks! I mean, that's an understatement, but fuck me! Oh, I fucking hate this story. I fucking hate it. This is without question the worst JNT. It is the worst JNT story, but it is the worst Sylvester McCoy story. I mean, my fucking God, what the hell's happened to Doctor Who? When are they going to finally get off the drugs? It seems like, Nightmare of Eden started a trend with Doctor Who going on drugs, and it went off for a bit, and then it went back on, and it's just stayed like this. I mean, what the hell? Oh, Time of the Rani is shit. It's just everything that I hate about Doctor Who. I don't go quite as far as calling it the worst of all time. I just think that it's pretty shit. It's one of the worst classic stories for certain. Yeah, oh,
I think
God.
you would say. Sorry to interrupt. I think you would say it is the worst classic story, judging by your rating.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, I really don't like this story. For one thing or another, I won't be kind to Sylvester McCoy in this one. I'm sorry. I know it's his first story. It's still going to take him time to get his portrayal under wraps, but for me, this is just his performance is all over the place. He's going way too far, being way too hammy, and I just don't like it. I really don't think it works. And okay, I understand that the Doctor, they had to make him regenerate because Colin was never going to return. And I don't blame him, to be honest, given the way he was treated. But it does mean that the regeneration suffers. Easily the worst regeneration of the show. Just the fact that the Doctor's lying on the floor face down and McCoy's wearing the wig. I mean, I suppose it's kind of a clever idea in the sense it's the only thing they could have done. And then they just turn the Doctor over and then his face changes. But we don't really understand why he regenerates. I mean, Alan did mention it sort of just now, but it's not enough for me. Like, I mean, how cool would it have been to have actually sort of seen more of opening the story with a bang, having more of a confrontation, even if Colin wasn't going to be there, have like the TARDIS crash or something, and then have them come in and find Mel and the Doctor or whatever. I don't know, but something more than what we got.
Yeah, that would have worked.
Yeah. I mean, it's simple, but it's just at least something. Obviously, without Colin, it's hard, but that would have been something better. And then the story just descends from fucking shit to brick. What can I say? Kate O'Mara coming back as the Rani, it's nice, it's appreciated, but yeah, she's pretty bad here too. She doesn't get much to do, and her pretending to be Mel. I mean, who would want to pretend to be Mel for one thing? But it's just so crap the way that the Doctor doesn't realize that he's being played for a fool. I know he's regenerated, so his head is kind of all over the place, but he's still intelligent. He's not an idiot. I just think it makes the Doctor out to be an idiot in this, and that's just wrong. And the fucking sets, the production design is so bad. I mean, we can forgive the cheapness in some of the stories up to a point, but this time I can't forgive it. It just looks awful. And like you said, Alan, about the Mel being in some kind of floating bubble or something or whatever it is, I just honestly didn't know what the hell was going on. This story doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It almost felt like this was Doctor Who on a rave. Like, I don't know what was going on in this story. I couldn't follow the story. Well, not that there is a story. But what little plot there was just seemed to be irrelevant to whatever was going on anyway. And, most of the time it's just Sylvester McCoy prancing around in Colin Baker's clothes for most of the story. And the clothes look even worse on him than Colin, as far as I'm concerned. And as for the new titles, they're okay. Like, I don't think the McCoy theme is the best version of the theme. It's okay. Like, I've warmed to it. The titles are pretty cool. I mean, it's the first sort of use of CGI, I suppose. They're not bad. It's a bit laborious, though. It's a bit of a long sequence. It's too long, and they should have trimmed that down. The story just drags and drags and drags, and it just continues to make no sense. And the Lacasians, or whatever they're called, the aliens, they're shit as well. They look so ridiculous. I can't remember too much of what they do in the story, but they look fucking awful. They look so bad, and I mean, they're arguably some of the worst villains for Doctor Who. And the more I think about it, the more I can't remember. The more it was just boring, slow. You know, the Doctor's just kind of shouting all the time and going, "Oh, I'm the Doctor!" Just kind of prancing around, pretending to be, messed up with the whole regeneration thing. When he does put on the costume, it's pretty cool. It's a nice moment when his Doctor is finally revealed, but I think at least half the story he spends wearing Colin's costume, which is weird. My mind kind of boggles at how insane this story is. It's literally like J&T was smoking like heroin or something. I don't know. It's clear that this show is out of control, and J&T just doesn't give a shit anymore. He wanted to leave, but he wasn't really allowed to. So, yeah, he was like, "Fuck it, I'll just let the show go down." And obviously, I think J&T was kind of upset about losing Colin as well. But McCoy actually is a good choice to play this role. He really is, and he will improve in this role as time goes on. But this is easily his worst performance. He doesn't know what he wants to do, and it really comes across. But yeah, and as for Mel, oh fuck's sake! I scream, you scream, we all scream. I mean, I'll give this to Bonnie Langford. Her lungs are powerful. In the words of Christopher Eccleston, I give you air from my lungs. But, seriously, how much air do I want? Not that much. Bonnie. You are so much better than this. Go away and do something else. Because you being in Doctor Who, it's not working. It ain't working for me. I mean, we've already seen her in half a season with Colin, but I suppose we will see a different dynamic with her and McCoy. Well, kind of. But at the end of the day, I just don't care about Mel. Like, I mean, Bonnie Langford tries, but it's the writing. They write. Well, they don't really write the character. She's just there to scream, and yeah, she's not really a strong female character. She's not. She's a bimbo. She's. And then she claims to know all about regeneration. It's like, well, what the fuck? Like, okay, fine. When were you told this?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Presumably the Doctor mentioned it when he was Colin Baker back in the day, but we never saw that. So as far as I was concerned, I just assumed that she was a bimbo. And she still kind of is. She's just kind of there to scream. And, why does she like traveling with this man if she's just going to scream all the time? I don't get it. I mean, this story is just, it's just awful. It's just fucking awful. What an awful way for McCoy to start. I don't know what to say. It's disgraceful. I can see why it's so reviled by Doctor Who fans, including all of us. And yeah, this was the beginning of the end for Classic Who. I think it was. I mean, Colin's era was a downward spiral for sure. In my personal opinion, not that was his fault entirely. But now it's really, the cracks are really starting to show, or more specifically, the arse cracks are starting to show. So I don't know what else to say. I guess I'll have to just give this I will give it what I gave it in my review, but for the sake of making it easier to say, I'll just say 0 out of 10. It's just much easier. But that I give it like minus 3.56 whatever, like I did in my review. So yeah, and fuck you, J&T. Fuck you very much. And with that, I rate the time of the Ronnie, and I hand you over to Jack.
Well, there you have it. Jack, where are you, man? There you go.
Or did we have it? That's the question. God, this story. Well, Jesus Christ. You know what's happening.
Drink up. Yeah. Chug.
Oh, God. Fuck this story!
Do you need to go to the doctor, love?
Fuck it! hold me now, restrain me, put me in a straitjacket because I'm gonna fucking vent on this shit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
2-meter rule on social distancing.
Go for it, Jack.
Time in the fucking Ronnie. Well, Alan and Ollie ranted on this, so I may as well join in the party. And yeah, time to Ronnie. I mean, what can I fucking say about this? This is an atrocious Doctor Who story. I fucking hate this story.
The
And
master.
sad thing is,
Shit.
yeah, and the sad thing is, this had potential to be a good story. This had
Well, no,
potential.
it didn't.
Well, it did with a new Doctor. They could have put something into it, but they didn't bother. I mean, Alan said already. I mean, Colin Baker decided, that he wasn't going to come back for the story because Michael Gray had fired him. So here we got Sylvester McCoy as the new Doctor, and McCoy, I actually think he's one of my favorite Doctors. And as his era goes on, I think he gets a lot better. Like, especially if his last season, there's some really cracking stories in there. But
Cracker, absolute cracker.
Yeah, we'll get to that wanker soon. But yeah. But as for Time in the Rani, well, Pip and Jane Baker, I mean, they are quite possibly the worst writers for the classic series. I mean, I haven't liked any of their scripts so far. I didn't care for Mark of the Rani, and I didn't care for Terror of the Vervoids. And this story, this is by far their worst story.
Yeah.
I mean, the beginning of this is just kind of weird, where you've got the TARDIS being shot by these lasers, and you see the Doctor on the floor, and the exercise bike is falling over, and then we cut to Lacursha, the planet, and we see the TARDIS lands, and you have that bit where Rani says, "Oh, leave the girl, it's the man I want," and then we see that the tent trap turns over the Doctor, and when I first saw the story, I didn't know it was McCoy in a wig, but rewatching it, it's so fucking obvious that it's just Sylvester McCoy in a blonde curly wig, and they try their best to sort of cover up that it's him by putting this like blurred effect on his face, like they put this weird effect on his face, but yeah, it's just terrible. It's easily the worst regeneration, and I feel bad that that's the way the Sixth Doctor has to go out. I mean, they did do a big Finish audio adventure with Colin Baker a few years ago, I think, called The Final Adventure, and it explains how he regenerated. Apparently, the Rani sent some radiation that was only poisonous to Time Lords into the TARDIS, and that's how he regenerated. But here they don't explain how he regenerates, and for all I know, as the fans say, it looks like the Doctor banged his head off a console, and that's how he regenerated.
That final story. Forgive me for but was that set directly after the Ultimate Foe? Or were there other stories that, like an audio form, that would have come between them?
Yeah, no. In the audio form, it's between the Ultimate Foe and this story. It's set just before Time in the Rani, the Final Adventure, the Sixth Doctor audio. But
were there any other Sixth Doctor audios as well?
Yeah, there's been tons on Big Finish, and Big Finish is now canon because of Night of the Doctor, Paul McGann. But yeah, so I mean, they explain in the Sixth Doctor's Final Adventure that he was shot by this radiation from the Rani, and it only affected Time Lords, and that's how he regenerated. But as for the show, I mean, watching this as a viewer back in 1987, I think you'd have been puzzled as to why the Doctor's regenerated. You would just assume that he banged his head off the console. But yeah, and then we get into title sequence and theme tune, and I'm going to be honest, I quite like the title sequence and theme tune. The title sequence by Keith McCulloch, and the title sequence.
Oh, I get it. Oh, family tie-ins.
Well, no, his name's spelled differently to mine, his surname. But yeah, I quite like the title sequence. So I mean, the title sequence, it was one of the first computer generated title sequences for a TV show, and I think it still holds up pretty well. And I kind of like the fact that it's a journey through space, and the Doctor winking. I mean, the only thing I don't really like about the title sequence is the logo. That's very dated. It's definitely one of the weakest logos for the show. very 80s looking. But I mean, I think the theme and the title sequence is good. But then we get into the story itself, and it's just downhill from here. I mean, this story is just a complete fucking mess. It just really is a mess. I mean, I'm going to agree with Ollie. Like, Sylvester McCoy in the story is just dreadful. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but for his first performance, I don't blame him. I mean, the script for the story is pretty bad, but the Doctor in the story just comes across as an absolute buffoon. He comes across as an absolute idiot. The script here is just all over the place. It just really is bad. And having McCoy in Colin Baker's outfit, well, I mean, Ollie said it, if you thought it looked bad in Colin Baker, it looks even worse on Sylvester McCoy. And I mean, that whole sequence where he's in the Rani's lab and then he wakes up and he's like, oh, the Rani, what monstrous experiments are you dabbling in now? It's just, oh God, that's such a terrible line. And McCoy's delivery of that is so fucking bad. And you got McCoy prattling around with this umbrella, like the Sixth Doctor's umbrella. He's like, oh, I'm going to smash it to pieces. And the Tetrap comes in and he throws a net over him or something, shoots a gun, which, puts a net over him. And, this it's just so campy. This story is just campy and, beyond belief. It is just, it is staggering to see how bad this story is. I mean, I remember the first time I watched this story, I watched it on Daily Motion, and I don't know why I watched it all. I mean, but saying that, I remember the first time I just watched it, and I was just absolutely shocked at how bad it is. And this really is just an embarrassment to Doctor Who. I mean, it's so sad to see the show sink, to this level. It's a new level of shittiness. It's a new level of crap. Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed 100%. Yeah.
And it's such a shame that this is called Doctor Who. I mean, it shouldn't be called Doctor Who because this is not Doctor Who. This is not what, Barry Lambert and Sidney Newman envisioned when they came up with the idea of Doctor Who. And it's just so bad. I mean, McCoy's just given such terrible dialogue. He's constantly messing up his lines, like, oh, 2 wrongs don't make a left turn and stuff like that. And the stuff with Mel here is terrible. Like, there's that whole scene where the Doctor talking to Mel, and she's like, "Oh, I've had enough of this drivel," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm thinking." Watching this shit, and that whole scene is just terrible when the Doctor finally realizes that Bonnie Langford, she realizes that she's actually Mel, and that whole stuff with the Rani in this is just so fucking bad. Like that whole sequence where she dresses up as Mel. I'm just thinking to myself, like, the Doctor he's a complete fucking idiot in this story. And that's one of the things that's what I hate about this story, is that the Doctor comes across as an absolute fucking moron, because how do you not know that is not Mel? I mean, that is like the least convincing disguise I have ever seen in my fucking life. All she does is put on a fucking stupid wig and she wears the same outfit, and all of a sudden the Doctor is filled by that. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I mean, it doesn't take a fucking genius to realize that this isn't Mel. I mean, and I thought the Doctor was supposed to be clever. Yeah. I mean, said the moron in the audience. Oh yeah, I didn't know that was Mel. Like, that's probably some idiot in the audience who he was actually fooled by this. The master of disguise. Yeah, just fuck off. And oh my God, I mean, it's just a disaster. It's a complete unmitigated disaster from start to finish. I'm just, I'm watching this. I'm just thinking to myself, what the fuck have they done? What have they done to this show? I'm flabbergasted at how bad this is. I just.
Me too.
The ironic thing is, they thought they were saving the show.
Yeah, really. Jesus.
Someone threw J&T a lifeline, because clearly he doesn't know when he's joining. But
yeah, really.
This is just, it's just torture to watch. I'm not even kidding. Bashing my head against the wall is more entertaining than watching this crap. Watching fucking paint dry is more entertaining.
You know what I'd rather
watching
do, Jack? I'd rather get my fucking scrotum pierced than watch this again.
Yeah, I'd rather jump off a building than watch this shit again. I mean, really, or I'd rather smear my genitalia in fish paste and dangle it in front of a hungry pool of piranhas than watch this again. It's just terrible. It's just
Oh, Doctor,
awful.
where art thou?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, when I'm watching this, I'm just thinking to myself, there is no God. There is no God watching this story because, he would have spared me from this crap. And it's just, this is just a complete another disaster. I absolutely hated it. And the stuff with Mel as well. I mean, like Ollie said, they say give them hell. Well, no, give them Mel because literally she's
really.
It's the equivalent.
Yeah, literally all she's doing in this story is just shut up. Someone put a fucking sock in her mouth. Jesus. This is just. I mean, you could use her scream to torture prisoners of war. If you wanted to get information.
You could, yeah.
Screaming in Clockwork Orange when the guy is watching that video. You should be hearing Mel scream at the same time.
Yeah.
I've seen the line. You've proven me it's
literally,
wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. Literally, you can get a prisoner of war and just get Mel to scream in his face for 2 minutes, and he'll tell you everything. He'll tell you everything you need to know because this is just torturous, and this is the reason why Mel is my least favorite companion of the classic series because she's just so fucking pointless. Her character is so. I mean, they say in the show that she's a computer programmer or something like that, but we never see that. Like, I mean, they mention it once in Travel, but we never see that. We never see her hacking into computers or something. I mean, that would be cool, but no. What do we have? We have Bonnie Langford screaming at the at the top of her fucking lungs, and you have her in that ridiculous trap. She gets into that trap, and it's like this giant ball that she's stuck in, and she's just screaming, and I'm just thinking to myself, please just put me out of my fucking misery. Just get out the double-barreled shotgun and blow me away because I can't take this anymore. I mean,
we never saw Mel meet the Doctor either. She was just there, like in Terror of the Vervoids. She just turned up. She was just there already.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame Bonnie Langford. I mean, she's trying her best with the shitty script, but at the same time, it's like the reason she got the role in the first place was because JNT said that she had the best scream that he ever heard, and I'm just thinking to myself, well, if that's how you got the fucking role, then that just says it all, really. Because that's all her character is. Sorry.
I say it doesn't bode well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just terrible. It really is terrible, and I just feel bad for Bonnie Langford, and I feel bad for McCoy as well because he's just given such bad material here. I mean, that whole scene where he's changing his costume, I actually didn't like that because I just thought it was ridiculous. Like he wears the John Pertwee outfit, but all of a sudden his frilly shirt is massive, and it's just so terrible. And the Doctor's new costume, I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, the only thing I don't really like is the question mark jumper. That's when I'm just thinking to myself, well, JNT, we get it. The show's called Doctor Who. We get it. But, the Doctor doesn't know that. He doesn't know the show's called Doctor Who. And, it's just so fucking gimmicky. It's just a, tacky 80s gimmick. And, it's just terrible. And, the story just, it drags itself along for 4 parts. And I'm just, I'm struggling to keep my interest. I mean, I never had any interest anyway watching this. I mean, like I said, there's so many better things you could be doing with an hour and 40 minutes than watching this crap. And I mean, it's just so irritating. And on those creatures as well, the Lacertians, they just look ridiculous. They add nothing to the story. They're absolutely, hilariously awful. And the fucking Tetraps, I mean, oh my god, are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? Like those fucking creatures with the 3 eyes, like they got an eye on the front, an eye on the side, an eye in the back. Like literally, the eyes are coming out of the back of their heads. You know, it's just fucking stupid. It's just so dumb. And the Tetraps are one of the worst Doctor Who monsters I have ever seen in my fucking life. That's how bad they are. And I don't think you guys have mentioned this yet, but there's that really stupid sequence where you got that disco ball of death that shoots lasers or whatever. And
oh yes, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, it's just so dumb. Like that disco ball with the the spikes on it, and it's shooting at people. And what next? Is John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever going to appear on the dance floor and start dancing to this disco ball of death? It's like for fuck's sake, it's like you may as well play the Bee Gees. Like you could tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a doctor's man. No time to talk. Just off. And the story, like, I just feel bad for Kate O'Mara because she chose to do this instead of going back to Dynasty, and she should have just done that instead because this is just terrible. And I mean, the Rani, I actually liked her in the Mark of the Rani. I mean, I didn't really care for that story, but she was quite good here. She's in that stupid fucking outfit the whole story, and the story itself, it just goes on and on and on and on and on, and I despise it. I absolutely hate it. There's really nothing redeemable in the story. And one thing that's also interesting about this story is the Doctor says he's 957 in this story. So, I mean, they kind of messed that up in the new series. He says he's like 900 and like 903. So, I mean, clearly Russell must have not watched this episode or he forgot about it. But, I can't blame him.
Or he chose to ignore it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it doesn't exist as far as we're concerned.
Yeah. But it's just, I mean, I really, words cannot describe how bad this is. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I'd rather be run over by a 10-ton truck, and I'd rather someone just break every bone in my body than watch this crap again. It just, I mean, it's really a shame that this is in my DVD collection. I mean, I only keep it for collection's sake, and they're going to release this season on Blu-ray soon. And I mean, I've got the other seasons on Blu-ray, so I'm debating about whether or not to get it. But at the same time, it's like, do I really want to pay, to see this story in HD? I mean, God, and this really is just, it's just terrible, and this really, sort of. It really was an indicator that the show was on its last legs. I mean, it trundled along for another couple of seasons, and then afterwards the BBC just pulled the plug in the show. And after seeing a story like this and some of the other shit fests in this season, I can't blame them. I really can't blame them. It's just awful. It really is. I mean, it's not the worst story of all time for me. I wouldn't even say it's the worst story of the classic series, but it's down there. I mean, we're coming to my least favorite story of the classic series later on in this season, Delta and the Bannerman, cough cough. But yeah, this is just dog shit. It really is. And that stuff about the asteroid as well. It's like, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck about this story? And
really,
I'm gonna have to have another drink. I'm sorry, but
go right ahead. Don't blame you.
So yeah, in conclusion, this story just fucking sucks. It really does. I hate it. Alan hates it. Ollie hates it. Pretty much everybody I know who's seen this story hates it. So no surprise for me. Apart from the title sequence and thing, there really is nothing there that I can recommend. Even McCoy, I'm sorry to say, I don't really care for his performance here. Thankfully, the next story, he gets a lot better. So, yeah, I'm going to close off by giving Time in the Rani 0 out of 10. So, well done.
Screw you, JNT. Screw you.
Now that that's out of the way, who wants to watch the extended cut?
One last thing I have to say: is there any Doctor Who fan on the planet who actually likes Time in the Ranny?
Well, I have somebody who commented on my review who said they preferred it to Paradise Towers, but I don't know how much of a compliment that is.
Yeah, really.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I think you'd be hard pressed to find a fan that actually likes this story. Really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, funnily enough, my review of Time in the Ranny has 0 dislikes. It is like nearly 20 likes and 0 dislikes. So I think it's generally despised by the fandom. But yeah.
Yeah.
God. Yep. Okay. So we now come to the second story in this season, which is Paradise Towers.
Yay.
And, I'm going to hand back. Yeah. Well, is it a paradise? That's debatable. But yeah, we'll hand over to Alan. Give us your thoughts on Paradise Towers.
Okay, Paradise Towers. Well, I got good news and bad news. Paradise Towers. The good news is it's definitely better than Time in the Ranny. I think we can all agree on that. It's definitely an improvement over Time in the Ranny, that's for sure. The bad news is it's still not very good. I'm sorry to say it doesn't quite make the grade for me. Sylvester McCoy is still looking for his first genuinely good Doctor Who story and his second try at bat. A little better than the first try, but still doesn't make the grade for me. I'm sorry to say. For me, Paradise Towers is a okay Doctor Who story. It's average. There's things in it that I like, but there's things in it that I don't like. I think it's a tonally messed up Doctor Who story because they're trying to do comedy and dramatic stuff at the same time. So for me, this is an example of a Doctor Who story that's at war with itself. That's what it seems to me. I don't hate Paradise Towers. As I say, it's definitely an improvement over Time in the Ranny, but I still think it's a mediocre Doctor Who story at best. On the plus side, I mean, I do think Sylvester McCoy is certainly better than he was in Time in the Ranny. I mean, I didn't really talk about McCoy's performance in the first story, but I'll say that you guys are right when I say that yeah, in his first story, Time in the Ranny, McCoy he clearly didn't quite have a handle on the character yet. He didn't quite know what to do, and he was given a shitty script besides. But I think this time around, he's more confident. I think he's more assured, and he gives a better performance. It's a more confident performance from McCoy this time around. But it also helps that he's given a better script, not a good script, but it's a better script than what he had last time. So McCoy, he is good in this story. I'll give him that. Bonnie Langford is certainly better in this story. She's not screaming her head off, even though she is allowed a couple more blood-curdling screams, but she's not screaming from start to finish as she was in Time of the Ranny. So she's definitely more likable in this story. This might be arguably her best performance as Mel. I'm not going to say it's a great performance, but this is probably the best performance out of her. Screaming is kept to a minimum, although she's still allowed to fire off a couple of horrible screams. But she's a bit more likable in this story. She's a bit more tolerable here, so that's something positive. Again, I got nothing personal against Bonnie Langford. I mean, she is a good actress, and she is cute, but Mel is just such a horribly written character. But she's not bad here. That's probably the best praise I can give Bonnie Langford in Paradise Tower. She isn't bad in this story, so that's something. As far as the supporting cast, I think the supporting cast overall very good. I guess the standout one would be the late great Richard Briers as the chief caretaker. I know he gets criticized for the hamminess in his performance at the end after he gets transformed or he gets taken over by the evil force in this story, and then he puts on this voice like, I've been taken over by the evil alien. you know. But until then, he's actually quite amusing. I mean, he was a brilliant actor. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've seen some other things that Richard Bryars did. I mean, I loved his performance as Polonius in Kenneth Branagh's film version of Hamlet. He's great in that. And he was on that popular British comedy show, The Good Life. Although when they broadcast it over here in America, they changed the title of it to Good Neighbors. So that's how Americans would know that show, as Good Neighbors. But over on your side of the pond, it was called The Good Life. He was very good in that. You know, and he did some other acting work. He was a great actor. So it's nice to see him appear here in Doctor Who as the chief caretaker. And I thought overall his performance was very good. He's very amusing as the chief caretaker, although he does get a little hammy towards the end, but perhaps you can blame the scriptwriter for that. That would be Stephen Wyatt. Stephen Wyatt wrote this story. It's a very weird Doctor Who story, Paradise Towers. I mean, okay, so they're going to this big I guess hotel or apartment or flat or something called Paradise Towers, and you have a very weird array of characters, some good, some bad. There's also this civil war going on between these groups of young women. I guess they're either teenagers or early 20s, called Kangs, and you know, they're separated into gangs. You know, they wear different colors and they have different colored hair. You've got red Kangs, you've got the blue Kangs, and the story begins with the last surviving yellow Kang, although sadly she gets killed off right at the top of the show, sorry to say. So for the rest of the story, it's a battle between the red Kangs and the blue Kangs, and they're all comprised of attractive young ladies. That's nice. I enjoyed looking at them. I'm not going to deny that. Although for some reason, they're given these really weird names. I mean, we get to meet a couple of the red Kangs, and one of them goes by the name of Fire Escape. Okay. The other red Kang goes by the name of Bin Liner. Okay. I mean, what are the other Kangs known as? You know, washing machine and egg beater, bread knife. I mean, you can't really take the proceedings seriously when the characters have these ridiculous names. I don't know. I mean, of all the names, Fire Escape, Bin Liner. I mean, what? But okay. But you know, the actresses who play them are you know, good actresses. You know, they give good performances and they're nice to look at, I admit. Interesting note: the actress who plays Fire Escape, the actress name is Julie Brennan, and actually she used to be married to Mark Strickson, who played Turlough in the Peter Davison era. Yeah, she was his first wife. The marriage didn't last, although apparently Mark Strickson is happily married these days to his third wife. But yeah, Julie Brennan was Mark Strickson's first wife. Interesting note there.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, yeah. And there was also, let's see, then we also have Annabelle Euretia playing the other red Kang named Bin Liner. Okay. And we also get to meet the leader of the Blue Kangs, and the actress's name is Catherine Cusack. She's quite good. So I like the attractive young ladies playing the Kangs. I thought they were interesting. I also like their use of slang. I mean, they use words like ice hot when they like something. Like, for example, yeah, I'm going to have a little more of my soda here. Ice hot, guys. It's really ice hot. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, so interesting use of slang from the Kangs in the story. Then you've got in this story, you've got the machines. I guess, what are they? Are they called the killing machines or the cleaning machines?
The cleaning robots.
Yeah, the cleaning robots. Although let's face it, they're modeled entirely after the war machines from the old William Hartnell story. I mean, they look pretty much exactly the same. It's just that they have a new paint job on them, and they have like a funny-looking smiley face painted on them. But they look pretty much exactly they pretty much have the exact same design as the war machines from the old William Hartnell story. So I think that's where they got their inspiration from for the cleaning robots. But they don't really pose any threat whatsoever. I mean, these cleaning robots go around hunting for Kangs or anybody, I guess, in the building who's violating any sort of laws and basically kill them. But these cleaning robots are so fucking slow. I mean, you can easily outrun them. I mean, you can just walk fast and outpace them. So they really don't pose any threat whatsoever. I mean, you know, I mean, they just lumber along very slowly, and they're really not much of a threat at all. Which is kind of silly. This story also throws in some women who are cannibals.
Yeah.
There's cannibalism in this story. I guess there's a couple of characters named. Well, actually, there's three of them. We meet a couple of them. I guess the main duo are Tabby and Tilda. I think, played by
Tilda and Tabby.
Yeah, and Brenda Bruce. And actually, I mean, I thought they were amusing. I think their performances are quite good.
The fucking cannibals? Huh?
Yeah, I like them until it's revealed that they're cannibals and they want to eat Mel. That's kind of weird. And then we meet a third cannibal woman named, I guess, Maddie, played by Judy Cornwell, but she turns good at the end, which is nice. But yeah, we got cannibalism going on in this story. Then there's another scene where Mel decides to take a swim in the local pool, and for no particular reason, there's a robotic yellow crab in the pool that threatens Mel. Why is it there? What purpose does it serve? Who put it there anyway? Why is there a robotic yellow crab in the pool? And of course, and of course, it gives Mel an opportunity to scream her head off. And I think that's one of the cliffhangers in the story is Mel screaming her head off in the pool. So that's really weird. I also find it strange that the soldiers in this story, or the officers who work at this place, Paradise Towers, led by the chief caretaker, they're all dressed. They all seem to be dressed like police officers, and yet they don't carry guns. Do they carry any sort of weaponry? Do they even have batons on them? I don't think so. I don't think they have anything on them. So, I mean, what, they keep law and order just by using their fists? I mean, fists can only do so much. I mean, you got to have some kind of weaponry on you, but they don't carry guns, and I don't even think they have batons. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments section down below, or if either of you can correct me, but I don't think they carry any weaponry at all, so that's kind of silly. Oh, and then of course, I have to mention the character of Pex, played by Howard Cook, and he's a likable character. I like him, but apparently he's a war deserter, which is why the Kangs make fun of him on a regular basis, because they treat him like he's a coward. And but I don't understand why Pex, at times he acts brave. I am Pex, I will save you, and at other times he's cowardly. And I don't know why this character is constantly going back and forth between being brave and then being a scared little chicken. I don't get that at all. I mean, I think Howard Cook's performance is good. He's likable as Pex. But I just don't understand why this character is constantly flip-flopping between being brave and then being scared. And I absolutely hate the fact that Pex dies at the end, that he had to. The only way that he could show his true bravery was to sacrifice himself by killing the chief caretaker, who by this point has been taken over by the evil force. But Pex had to sacrifice himself in order to kill the chief caretaker. So Pex dies, and they try to make us feel better about it by having the last scene in this story being we're seeing the Kangs, who by now, the blue Kangs and the red Kangs have joined together, and they've put their differences aside, and they're having like a memorial service for Pex. And we see the Doctor and Mel fly off in the TARDIS, and when the Doctor and Mel fly off in the TARDIS and the TARDIS dematerializes, we see this graffiti spray painted on the wall that says, "Pex lives." Yeah, like that's supposed to make me feel better about Pex's death. It doesn't. It doesn't make up for it. Pex shouldn't have had to die. He should have been allowed to live. So I hated Pex's death in the story. Just hated it. So for me, Paradise Towers is a very, very mixed bag. I mean, I think it has an interesting look to it. I do like the supporting cast. McCoy gives a good performance. Bonnie Langford is tolerable in this story. She's decent enough. But this is a very tonally messed up story. The mixture of comedy and seriousness, and the fact they toss in this cannibalism thing. I hate Pex's death. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. The cleaning robots are neat to look at, even though they're based on the war machines from Hartnell's era. But they move so slowly. They don't pose any threat. It's a very, very mixed up, messed up Doctor Who story. It's not a total disaster. There's things in it that I like, but there's things in it that I don't like. It definitely comes across to me as a Doctor Who story that's at war with itself. So, not quite a winner for McCoy, I'm sorry to say, even though it is better than Time of the Ranny. So, the best rating I can give Paradise Towers is just an average, middle of the road, 5 out of 10. So, better
That's
luck
higher
next
than
time,
Time of the
McCoy.
Ranny.
Yeah. 5 out of 10 for Paradise Towers. Better luck next time, McCoy. Huh, yeah, right. Better luck next time. Chuckle, chuckle.
Okay. We'll now move on to Ollie. Your thoughts on Paradise Towers?
Well, this is a weird one, and I kind of just sat there the whole time going, "What?" That was literally my reaction to the story. I mean, look, it's not as bad as Time in the Rani. God no, I mean, it's hard to be as bad as that. It is an improvement over that, but that's not really a compliment in this instance. It's for me, I don't really like Paradise Towers. I mean, I thought McCoy was better. I thought he did a good job as the Doctor, and his portrayal isn't quite as zany and wacky this time. He still had his eccentricities, but they were more controlled. It was a more controlled performance, so I appreciate that. To me, Paradise Towers is just a very confused Doctor Who story. It doesn't really know what it wants to be. It's kind of weird. It's one of the strangest Doctor Who stories I've ever seen. I mean, the story about these two gangs kind of fighting each other, and I just didn't really care. I thought the story was kind of nothing, and the character of Pex, as Alan said, is not particularly great. I mean, he's well played. I mean, he's played well enough. But his whole kind of story arc of him being a coward and trying to kind of learn to be brave and in the end sacrificing himself, I suppose it's kind of nice, but it doesn't really affect the overall story for me. And for me, the story is boring. It just goes on, and I just had no interest in it. I couldn't really get into it. And yeah, the robots, the sort of cleaning robots or whatever they were very bad. They were pretty awfully designed. They looked very clunky, and yeah, the sets look really cheap as well. It looks like this story was filmed outside of a back alley, like with it looks like a street corner, like with graffiti everywhere, and just from a design point of view, it's just lazy. And lighting wise, this story is too dark. There's like various shots that you can't see that well. Like the lighting doesn't really match, so a lot of things don't really work about this one. And also the cannibalism. What the fuck? I mean, I thought we were over this in the Two Doctors. I mean, I thought that was bad enough, but this, well, it's not quite as bad as that, but it is kind of odd. You have these sort of 2 or 3 old ladies who want to eat Mel. And to be honest, that would have been a very dark way for Mel to die. if Mel...
God,
sorry?
I was gonna say, like, that scene is so cringy when they throw the net over Mel and they get out the toasting fork. It's like, oh God.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I don't remember much about the story. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, Mel, just again more of the same. Again, not as annoying as Time in the Rani, but still the same. Mel doesn't really change from here on in, to be honest. And yeah, and is this the one where there's that stupid scene where she with a swimming pool? I think that's this story, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I didn't like that. I thought that was kind of silly and stupid. And even though the story is it's like 3 parts, isn't it? It just drags on.
4 parts.
Oh, it's 4 parts. Sorry. Yeah, it's 4 parts, but God, it drags on. It's really slow, and I got bored of it. I got bored of it really quickly. And also, I agree. The music score is terrible. I didn't mention this in the Time in the Rani, but the music for that was pretty awful, and the music hasn't really improved here as well. I mean, it is what it is. It's not awful. It's not like offensively bad, but it's dull and boring and weird. It's tonally confused. The tones constantly conflict each other. Like Alan said, it's at war with itself. It doesn't know what it wants to be. So yeah, it's for me. This is a pretty crap Doctor Who story. Not without merit, but certainly not good. It's certainly better than Time in the Rani, but that's hardly compliment of the year. So I guess
You're dabbing it with being praised.
not even that. Faint praise. It's barely even that. I mean, because I'm going to give this story a 3 out of 10. It gets a few more marks than Time in the Rani, but you know, I would never rush back to this one. It's not one that I really want to watch again. So yeah, that's kind of my. There is definitely a dud for McCoy. It's not his worst story, of course. It's not like one of his all-time worst, but it's down there for me. So yeah, 3 out of 10.
Well, thanks for that, Ollie. So, oh, God, now we get to Paradise Towers, and I'll say this: it's better than Time in the Rani, but that really isn't saying much. This is just another crappy Doctor Who story. And the sad thing is, this is written by Stephen Wyatt, who would go on to write The Greatest Show in the Galaxy in McCoy's next season, which is actually pretty good, but this is just terrible. I mean, there are good things in this story, I will say. I do think there are good ideas in here, but the execution is just terrible. It really is. One thing I will say, though, about this story that I did like is I do think McCoy is way better in this story. I think he's a lot more confident. He's toned it down a lot, and he's actually pretty good in this story. He starts to find his feet as a doctor. I don't think he fully solidifies himself as a doctor until the next season with Remembrance of the Daleks. That's where his doctor truly comes to fruition. But here he's good, and he has less of the comedic stuff. And I mean, the whole storyline itself, like Mel wanting to go to Paradise Towers, and we find out the Paradise Towers is this like rundown place, and you've got these like robots, and I mean, it's kind of an interesting idea. You got an interesting idea there, but I just think the execution is just so bad. And the Kangs, I mean, you've got the red Kangs and the blue Kangs, and you also have the yellow Kangs, and we see that one of them, the last yellow Kang, is killed at the start. And I have to say, the cleaning robots here are just terrible. I mean, they look so goofy. They move at a fucking sluggish pace. I mean, you could easily outrun them. I mean, you could outwalk them. That's how fucking slow they go. And the story, it's trying to make you scared of these robots, but I just end up laughing. I really do. And the story itself, I mean, it's just really doesn't know what it wants to be. It's a real mess of tone. And I think one of the biggest problems with the tone is that it just, it doesn't know whether it wants to be serious or whether it wants to be campy. And that's one of the biggest problems with McCoy's era. Well, his first season anyway, is they don't really know what tone they're going for. And I mean, the characters here are interesting. Like, I do kind of like the actresses who play the Kangs. Although some of their catchphrases get a bit annoying after a while. Like when they say "ice hot, doctor, ice hot." I mean, it's kind of cute the first couple of times, but then it gets a little bit irritating. And the names are just ridiculous, like bin liner, fire escape. I mean, please, it's just stupid. And I mean, the caretakers themselves, I mean, that's kind of interesting. And there is one scene in this which I do quite like with we see that the caretakers, they have to stay by the book. And we see that they have to follow the rules in the book. And there's a nice scene with the Dr. McCoy sitting down and he's reading in the book and saying, oh, the guards will take 5 steps away from the prisoner and they'll close their eyes, and he fools them, he tricks them, so he can escape. I mean, I don't know how they fell for that. I mean, they're pretty stupid, but nonetheless, that was a amusing scene. Richard Briers, I mean, he's good in this. Well, to a point. I mean, he's pretty good as the chief caretaker when we first meet him, and he calls the Doctor the Great Architect or something like that. And the cliffhanger, the part one's pretty good, where he says, "Oh, what should we do with him?" And he says, "Kill him." That was an interesting cliffhanger. But I don't know why he says the Doctor is the Great Architect or why he thinks that. But yeah, I mean the caretakers, like Alan said, I don't know really how they establish law and order in that place. I mean, they have no weapons. I mean, the Kangs have crossbows and stuff like that. I don't know how they can, get the Kangs into line, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, saying that, I mean, the story itself, it just becomes really ridiculous and over the top. There's that whole stupid scene where Mel encounters Pex, and the actor who plays Pex, I think he's very hammy. I mean, I just don't really like Pex. He's just sort of an annoying muscle man. He's like, "Yeah, I'm Pex. I'll help you, Mel. I'm Pex," and it just kind of gets irritating after a while. And there's this whole thing about him being a coward and being a scaredy cat and all that, and the Kangs make fun of him. It's just like, just fuck off. I mean, just fuck off. It's just stupid. And as for the cannibal old ladies, well, oh god, literally, Mel takes the biscuit here. I mean, the fucking cannibal old ladies, Tilda and Tabby. Are you fucking serious? Are you serious right now? Because this is just terrible. I'm sorry, those cannibal old ladies, like Ollie said, clearly JNT did not learn from the two doctors, and it's just so ridiculous. Like we got, Mel coming over there, and they're trying to like fatten her up, like they're giving her all these like cookies and cups of tea and crumpets and stuff like that, and it's just so stupid. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to go for with this, story. I just really don't understand it. And those two cannibal old ladies, it's just such cringe. Like one of them gets a knife, and one of the cliffhangers to the episode, they throw a net over Mel, and I think it's Tabby. She gets out a toasting fork, and it's just like, for fuck's sake, for God's sake, this is just terrible. And that's the problem with season 24, is that this season is just a train wreck, and this story is a prime example of that. I mean, it's not as bad as Time to Rani, but it's down there. It's pretty bad. It's just not very good. And I mean, there's just so many stupid scenes in it. So there's that whole sequence where Mel goes into the pool, and there's a yellow crab there, and I'm just like, oh my god. This is just terrible. I mean, it has nothing on the crabs, in the macro terror, and literally you could say Mel has got crabs in this story. That fucking yellow crab is just ridiculous, and when it attacks Mel in the pool, I'm cringing. I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on here? And the soundtrack for this, I don't care for. I think the soundtrack's crap. You've got that stuff as well with this creature in the basement that's killing people. We see that these cleaner robots are feeding the thing in the basement, and it's like, oh, hungry, hungry, and we see that you've got Richard Briers there, and it's just so ridiculous in part 4 where he becomes zombified, and this is literally Richard Briers in the story. Hello, Doctor. I'm a zombie now, and I'm going to talk like this and make these weird facial expressions and talk in a stupid voice. It's just easy as hell.
Very good, Jack. Very good.
Thanks. But it's just like, what the hell is going on here? And Richard Briers is a good actor. I mean, he was in A Good Life. He's been in other things, and he's just so over the top as this zombified, chief caretaker. And even JNT at the time, when he saw Richard Briers doing this, he was pissed off. He thought Richard Briers was going way too over the top, and it's just ridiculous. When he's zombified, every time I see him on screen and he's talking, I'm laughing. I'm just laughing, and this story just really is. It's nothing. It really is a nothing story. I mean, it has good ideas in there about a decaying society within this building, and you got the stuff of the graffiti on the walls. I didn't mind that, but the film itself, sorry, the story itself is just boring. It's just really, really boring. Um, Inconsequential. It's just a generic run of the mill Doctor Who story, but it's worse than that. It's just this was when the show was really just going into the toilet, and I really don't like this. I think it's crap. And the ending of the story is terrible, where Pex fights Richard Briers as a zombie, and he's got the dynamite, and they both blow up. And the ending of this is just so stupid, where they're worshipping Pex as a god, and then the TARDIS disappears, and it says on the wall, Pex lives. I mean, I'm sorry, but no, he doesn't live. He's dead. Why would you write that on the wall? And that's how you end the story.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, Paradise Towers, I'm in agreement with Ollie here. It's not as bad as Time to Rani, but it's pretty bad nonetheless. It's just a mess. I mean, there's good ideas in there. There's good story ideas in there, but it's just executed so badly. I don't care for Pex. I don't care for the crab in the pool, and just some really campy, stupid stuff in there. And McCoy is a lot better, I will say that. So that's one positive. And there are some things in there that I do like, some ideas, but it's just not very good. So I'm going to close off by giving Paradise Towers a 3 out of 10. So yeah, okay. So the next story we move on to, oh god, it's another shit fest.
Oh god, oh god, here we go again. Oh,
yep. This is my least favorite story, the classic series, and yeah, it's another shit fest from McCoy, sadly, and that's Delta the Batterman. Oh god.
Oh god.
So I'm gonna hand it over to Echo and the Bunnymen. Literally, they took the name of Echo and the Bunnymen and they just rearranged it into this shit. But yeah, tell us your opinion, Alan, on Delta and the Bannerman.
Oh god, Delta and the Bannerman. All right, hold on. Cheers. It's got cognac in it. God damn it. Ugh. Delta and the Bannerman. This is another shit fest from Sylvester McCoy's first season. It's awful. It's a little bit better than Time of the Rani, but that's no compliment. It really isn't. It's another piece of shit story for McCoy's first season. I mean, Jesus, McCoy is now going 0 for 3 with his first 3 Doctor Who stories. As I said in my review, I have never seen a doctor go 0 for 3 with his first 3 stories. To have 3 bad stories in a row out of the gate. I mean, it makes me want to shake JNT vigorously by the shoulders like a fucking rag doll and say to him, JNT, please get your shit together, man. What have you done to Doctor Who? You fucking moron. What is going on here? I mean, again, I'm watching my favorite TV show go down in flames before my very eyes. I mean, this is just awful. And when is McCoy going to have a good story? I think he'll finally get lucky with the next story, in my opinion, but we'll get to that one in a bit. But the Delta and the Bannerman is just awful. For some reason, they had the idea of trying to mix 50s rock and roll music with Doctor Who, and it just doesn't work. I mean, they tried to amp up the comedy again. They wanted this story to be a fun romp, I guess, and I was actually shocked when I looked at the online reviews for Delta and the Bannerman, and there are actually some Doctor Who fans who actually like this story, and they think that it is a fun romp, Well, good for them, but not for me. Not for me. I just think it's awful. I mean, this is not Doctor Who. This is not. It's like what the fuck has happened to Doctor Who? We had a shit fest with Time in the Ranny. Paradise Towers was just so, and now we've got another shit fest. My heart totally goes out to Sylvester McCoy that he had to get off to a horrible start like this. Yeah, Delta and the Bannerman. I mean, it's shot entirely on location. I don't think there's a single studio shot in this at all. It's all on location. And again, it looks cheap. And again, they're trying to mix 50s rock and roll music with Doctor Who. I mean, there's even a point where we see Mel and some of the other characters in a flying bus, and they're singing that old Bill Haley in the Comets classic "Rock Around the Clock." And Bill Haley would be spinning in his grave if he knew that they were singing his song in this piece of shit Doctor Who story, And it just doesn't work. It comes off as comedy, and it's just not Doctor Who. It just isn't. And also the whole thing with Queen Delta or Princess Delta. I mean, the story begins. I mean, she's being chased by these I guess by the Bannermen. We don't really know why they're chasing her. They're just chasing her, and her soldiers look like life-size, green army men toys, like what you saw in that first Toy Story movie. I mean, why? Why do they look like green army men toys? I mean, how the fuck can we take any of this stuff seriously, J&T? How? How can we take this seriously? I mean, this is a joke. What's happening to Doctor Who here? And although I liked the actress who plays Delta, Belinda Main, I probably liked her because she plays her role straight. She doesn't go into the farcical stuff that this story goes into, but I I just don't give a shit about this story, and I don't care about what's going on, and they also try to liven things up by throwing in these old time performers from the early days, like Ken Dodd and Stubby K appear in this story, and they don't need to be there. They don't add anything to it. I mean, Ken Dodd tries to be amusing as the toll master, and congratulations, Doctor, you've won our sweepstakes, blah blah blah, and but he doesn't really add anything to the story, and then Stubby K, and I guess the other guy is Burton, played by Richard Davies, but Stubby K, yeah, they're totally pointless characters. They're looking for a satellite. They're asking the other characters, "Hey, have you seen a satellite?" And they add nothing to the story, just nothing. Don Henderson plays the lead.
Alan,
What?
I was gonna say, like, those two characters, like, they're such stereotypes of Americans. Like, I think Stubby K wears like a New York Yankees hat, and he calls the president on the phone on the doctor's TARDIS. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're trying to put some American humor into the show, but they don't add anything to the story. They don't even need to be there. You could take those characters out, and the story would be, just fine. Well, I mean, not fine as in a good story, but you'd have a couple of unnecessary characters taken out. It would have made the story a little bit better. But yeah, Stubby K and Richard Davies as Burton Weissmuller. Yeah, they add nothing to the story. They don't even need to be there. They also throw in this ridiculous music score. The score for Delta and the Bannerman is awful. I mean, I don't know why they insist on whenever the Doctor gets on a motorcycle in this story, they insist on and then later on the McCoy gets on the motorcycle again. It's so stupid. It's just awful. Oh, just awful. Let's see. I do like Belinda Main as Delta. I mean, she's likable. Again, she's playing the role straight, and you do like her. I mean, at least I liked her in this. I thought she was good. Don Henderson plays the main Bannerman, the leader of the Bannerman, named Gavrock. And again, he's a good actor, and he's a good villain, but I mean, he's a villain who has no backstory to him. We don't know anything about him other than he's evil and he leads the Bannermen. I mean, there is one amusing scene where the Doctor confronts him, and Gavrock's eating this raw meat. Eating this raw meat. Okay, that was amusing. Don Henderson, I guess the world would know him best as he was one of the generals, I guess, in the original Star Wars in the Death Star conference room scene. He's the first one to speak. He has that line that goes something like, "Until this battle station is fully operational, we are vulnerable." That was Don Henderson. So that's probably the thing people would know him best for. I mean, he's amusing as Gavrok, but again, he's a villain with no backstory. We don't even know why he's there, why he's leading the Bannermen, or why he's so evil. We're not told any of that. The Bannermen themselves are ridiculous. I mean, when they're running, they look okay because they've got these banners. They're all dressed in black, and they've got these banners stuck on their backs. And when they run, obviously the banners flap in the wind. That looks kind of cool, I admit. But they stick their tongues out. They all have red tongues. They stick them out every so often. When they're not running, they look really silly. I like the banners flapping in the wind, but other than that, they're just very silly looking aliens. Bonnie Langford is Mel. Okay, she's good here, although they still have to give her a moment to scream her head off. And there's this really silly scene. I think it's the cliffhanger of episode 2, maybe episode 1 or 2, where she's with Delta, and Delta's carrying this silvery egg. She's trying to protect, I guess, the last member of her race or something like that, and this unborn baby who's in a silvery egg. And the episode ends with the baby alien hatching out of the egg, and for some reason Mel screams her head off when she sees the baby emerging out of the egg. I mean, is that really something to scream over? But you got to give Mel a reason to scream. So that's her reason to scream in this story. Bonnie Langford, she's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Alan, when you see the toddler in the green suit, the green makeup, like, I mean, what did you think of that? I was just like, oh my god, this is so cheap looking. It's just terrible.
Very cheap looking, and the fact that the baby grows up to full size in a matter of seconds, a matter of minutes. I mean, first we see the child as a baby, and then we see the kid as a young child, and then the child is like an older child, maybe not quite a teenager, but close to being a teenager. I mean, the child grows really, really fast, and then they throw in this ridiculous romance between Delta and one of the characters. Is it Billy? Is that the guy she falls in love with? This young guy named Billy, I think.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Billy. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable relationship, and the fact that he decides to become one of her race. He drinks some potion or something like that, or injects himself with something to become a member of her alien race, so he can be with her, which is ridiculous. I did like, however, I guess the other character I must mention is the young female character Rey, played by Sarah Griffiths. Yes, before Rey in Star Wars, we had Rey in Doctor Who, Delta and the Bannermen. Sarah Griffiths is the actress, and I think her character is she Scottish or is she Irish, something like that. But
she's Welsh.
Welsh. She's Welsh. I just can't get it right. I'm sorry. I know I need to be a little more scholarly about the various accents, but okay, she's Welsh. But she's like a leather-clad young girl. She rides the motorbike. That's how McCoy gets to ride on the motorbike, because he gets to ride on it with Rey. And the funny thing is that Sarah Griffiths as Rey, she came so very close to being the new companion on Doctor Who. Because originally Delta and the Bannerman was going to be the final story of the season. But at this point, Bonnie Langford hadn't given her official word yet that she was going to leave the show. And then I guess at the last minute, the Delta and the Bannerman was moved forward as the third story of the season. And then Dragonfire became the final story of the season. And by this point, Bonnie Langford had made her decision to leave the show. So Sarah Griffiths just missed out being the new companion. And of course, the new companion wound up being Ace, played by Sophie Aldred. Sarah Griffiths, I think she's very likable. And I guess time has proven that. I mean, Sophie Aldred was meant to be the new companion. And I guess Sophie Aldred is definitely better and is a more memorable companion. But, I wouldn't have minded Sarah Griffiths getting into the TARDIS as the new companion Rey. I'm sorry that she just missed out being the new companion, but oh well, what happened happened. But she is quite likable. I think she's very appealing as Ray, and she's likable. I did like her performance here very much. Sorry she didn't get to be the new companion.
I was going to say something, Alan. What I don't understand is Ray fancies Billy, but all of a sudden Billy wants to become an alien and go away with Queen Delta. It's like, what about Ray? I mean, she's not bad looking and she fancies you, but yet you want to become this alien? It's like, what? Like,
yeah, I know that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, you've got Ray right there already, so why would you want to go off with Delta and be an alien besides? That is pretty silly. I agree with you, man. So yeah, I'm sorry Sarah Griffiths just missed out being the new companion, but oh well, it was not to be. But she is very good here as Ray. But overall, this is just a very, very ridiculous Doctor Who story. Again, they're trying to camp it up by using 50s rock and roll music and putting some old timer entertainers in here like Stubby K and Ken Dodd, but it's just a mess. It's just a total mess. I mean, the best thing I can say for Delta and the Bannerman really is that at least it's short. It's only 3 episodes, so that makes it only a 3-episode piece of shit instead of a 4-episode piece of shit like Time in the Ranny. So it's a little bit better than Time in the Ranny, but that's not saying very much. Overall, it's terrible. It's just a ridiculous Doctor Who story. It's not even Doctor Who anymore. I mean, what has the show become now under JNT? And with McCoy, and it's not McCoy's fault. I feel so bad for him. I mean, he deserves so much better than this. He is the brand new Doctor at this point in time, and he's just getting shit stories to do up to this point. I think you and I, Jack, at least will be kinder to the next story, thank God. But as of right now, I mean, I'm watching my favorite TV show go down in flames right before my very eyes. I just feel so bad for McCoy and for Doctor Who in general. With this one, so I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna say Delta and the Bannerman is slightly better than Time in the Ranny, but that's not saying much. It's another piece of shit story from McCoy's first season. It's really bad, really really bad. So the best I can give Delta and the Bannerman is a 2 out of 10. Sorry, McCoy.
well, thank you, Alan. And God, we now move on to green alien babies, or sorry, babies covered in face makeup. Ollie, your opinion on Delta and the Bannerman?
This. Three strikes and you're out. Well, in this case, there were 4 stories, but thankfully, they made it a hat trick. A hat trick, 3 in a row. 3 terrible stories in a row. Oh, God. I don't hate this one as much as Time the Rani, but Delta and the Bannerman is shit. My God, it's shit. Oh, God. I mean, I can kind of see what they tried to do in terms of making it a sort of fun, campy kind of holiday feel of a story. But then it just goes off the rails. I mean, this story is weird. It's fucking nuts. It's just fucking bizarre. I mean, the whole concept of the...
I was going to say another confused tone where they couldn't find out whether they wanted to do campy or make it serious with this genocide plot with Delta and the Queen Delta, but yeah, God.
Exactly, yeah, and this whole thing about the baby or whatever growing at an exponential rate over the course of a day, like 2 days, is just bizarre. I don't get it. I mean, there are, I suppose, I can say Sylvester McCoy is good as the Doctor. But he can't save it. This story is just a mess. I can't even follow the story. I don't even know what the story is. I'm trying to remember it is very difficult. But I do remember quite thinking the character of Ray was okay. She wasn't bad. I mean, nice, cute Welsh girl. She might have been a nice companion, but I think Ace was probably the better choice. Obviously, we'll talk about Ace in just a sec. I, I don't really know. I'm kind of lost for words with this one. I mean, the design of the aliens is terrible and completely goofy, and I'm kind of struggling, guys, to remember this one. I mean, I remember
I was gonna say, do you remember do you remember the green toy soldier aliens?
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't understand why are they toy soldiers. Just what? Why? Nothing makes any sense here. And the fact that they also include the song "Rock Around the Clock," it's a nice song, but what does that have to do with Doctor Who? I've got no idea. And then the appearances of these like comedians or whoever, like Ken Dodd, it's just I don't know. This story is just all over the place, and to be honest, I couldn't follow it. I struggled to follow it, and even though it's only 3 parts, I just fuck me, I couldn't get into it. It was so slow, and the character of Billy as well, just kind of it's weird. The fact that he wants to go and he falls in love with Delta and wants to raise the kid with her and have a family life like on some other planet. Just like that. I mean, okay, weird. I don't know. Everything about this story doesn't make sense. It's just weird, and it's there's this kind of commercialism sort of vibe about it, which I don't really get. Again, the tone is all over the place. Like Alan said, it doesn't know what it wants to be, and it's hard to take it seriously. And it's like I've said before, it's clear that the show is really out of control, and it doesn't know it doesn't know which direction it wants to go in. Bonnie Langford as Mel, she's not as bad in this one, but she's still not great. So McCoy's the Doctor. Sorry?
I was going to say, when she screams at the alien baby hatching, she's like, ah! Again.
Yeah, again, that doesn't really warrant a scream. I don't know why she screamed at that. That's a bit stupid. But yeah, she's not as bad in this one. This isn't her worst performance. But I just never cared for Mel as a companion. And it's, I'm not going to be disappointed that she's leaving in the next story. But yeah, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. And I've kind of forgotten most of this story, to be honest. And I'm kind of glad I've forgotten it, because I just don't have any good memories from it. And it's one of the most boring Doctor Who stories ever. And yeah, I'm not sure what else to really say other than the music as well. The music score, probably one of the worst music scores for a Doctor Who episode. Really one of the worst. It just sounds awful, and it grates on your ears. It's terrible. It fucking sucks. The effects look cheap. All the stuff on the motorbikes isn't engaging. Nothing grabbed me about this story, and it was just all over the place.
I was going to ask you, what did you think of the baby when they put it in the green outfit and put the green face paint on it? I remember in your review, like, you said that was like one of the worst parts of the story, that you just said it was like really cheap, but
yeah. To be honest, I don't really know what I was thinking watching that. That was just disgraceful. I mean, obviously for the purposes of budget, they couldn't do like a massive visual effects change, so they just cut to that. But the makeup itself just wasn't convincing enough. Like it was really embarrassing, to be honest. And I don't know what they were trying to do here, but they should have just conserved the budget and shot something at the studio, because this is just no, this is just terrible. I mean, I'm not surprised that a lot of people don't like this one. So yeah, I can't really add much more. I give this one a 0 out of 10. It's terrible. It's not as repulsive as Time in the Rani. It didn't anger me as much as that, but at least McCoy is kind of settled into his Doctor now, which is good. That's the only plus I could say. And yeah, that's basically it. That's all I've got to say about Delta and the Bannerman. Thankfully, the season finale is the strongest story, but as to how strong, we'll find out.
God. Delta and the Bannerman. Well, I'm holding myself back.
Don't do it, Jack. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Give in to the hate, boy. Nice gun.
Delta and the fucking Bannerman sucks! God, I fucking hate this story. This is, for me, the absolute worst story of the entire classic series. I hate Delta and the Bannerman. This is just such a fucking train wreck. Every time I've seen this, I don't even know what the fuck is going on here.
Hate can always turn into love. Yeah.
Even worse than Time of the Ranny. Wow. That's great.
Yeah. I hate this. I'm sorry. I hate this. And I didn't want to hate this story. I didn't want to hate Delta and the Bannerman because...
Yeah, right.
Well, no, I didn't, because every Doctor Who story, I go in there with an open mind. And I remember the first time I watched this story, I bought it on DVD, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? What the fuck is this story about? And then I remember afterwards, rewatching this for the second time for my review, I was thinking to myself, I'm just going to go in there, I'm going to give it another chance. I watched it again, and I ended up despising it again. What the fuck is this story about? They never explain why Gavrok is trying to kill Queen Delta. Never. They never explain it. And the story is just so terrible. I mean, you open up the story with fucking green toy soldiers? What the fuck is this? Is this Toy Story? Or is this Doctor Who? You know, it's just... Oh, God. I mean, those green army men, like those green toy soldiers, this is an embarrassment to Doctor Who. This is just so terrible. And, oh, God, I mean, it just goes from bad to worse. And then we get to the story itself. And what story? What fucking story? I mean, that's fucking you know, it's just terrible. I mean, I just cannot contain myself. I cannot contain myself while watching a story. My fucking blood vessels... I was about to have a fucking heart attack watching this, you know, because it is just so ridiculous. It is the campiest, the corniest, you know, the cheesiest fest ever. And it just never stops. It just never fucking stops. I mean, that whole beginning with, you know, the green toy soldiers and, you know, Queen Delta, you know, she's trying to, you know, save her race, and she's the last of the, you know, Shimrons or whatever the fuck it is. I mean, they never explain why Gavrok is trying to kill her. No, they just don't. They never explain why. They never explain why he wants to kill her. He's just, you know, oh, I'm a bad guy. I want to kill, you know, Queen Delta. It's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give an absolute fuck right now. And the story is just so messy. I mean, it doesn't know whether it wants to be a comedy or whether it wants to be this like serious story about genocide and, you know, Queen Delta being the last of her race. And the story is just so cheap. Every time I watch this, I'm just thinking, what the fuck is this? This is a disgrace to Doctor Who. This is a fucking travesty that I'm watching right here. I mean, it is just so cheap. It is so campy. And I'm just thinking to myself, how can Doctor Who sink to this level? I mean, you know, only 10 years before this, you know, we were getting great stories like City of Death and stuff like that. And now we get this? Fuck off. Just fuck off. Sorry, but, you know, this is just insulting to the intelligence. Literally, every time I watch this story, it's like I lost brain cells. It's like, you know, my fucking brain was melting, you know, watching this, because it is so incomprehensibly awful. And, you know, they're just so stupid. Like, there's that whole scene where the Doctor, you know, he's with Mel and they end up at this place and they get a ticket to, you know, Disneyland in the 50s, and we got fucking Ken Dodd in a Doctor Who story. Like, you really just it's like JNT doesn't give a fuck anymore. It's like he's getting the shovel and he's just digging Doctor Who's grave right now. It's like he's just shoveling in the dirt. Like it's like this is
well
just
put. Well put.
it's just terrible, and this is just one of the reasons why the show would be cancelled, because you got Ken Dodd, and Ken Dodd, I've seen his stand up. He's a funny guy, but what the fuck is he doing in a Doctor Who story? I mean, like, I'm just expecting him to get his tickle sticks out next. He's gonna get his tickle sticks out and tickle the Doctor to death. It's so camp, and he's in that stupid glittery outfit, and oh god, it's so terrible. And you got Mel and the Doctor going to Shangri-La. It's just oh god, and that's false advertising. And there's that whole stupid sequence where those aliens, those like camping holiday aliens, they're going through that machine that changes them to make them look human. I'm laughing. I'm like, what the fuck, it's so bad. I'm laughing at how shit this is. It really is. This is a shit stain on the name of Doctor Who. This should not be called Doctor Who, because this is just an absolute disgrace. And McCoy, as a Doctor, I mean, he's good here, but like, what the fuck? I mean, we see that he sends Mel on the bus, and you said it in your review, Ollie. It's just an excuse. It's a plot device so the Doctor can save them all on this holiday bus, and it's so stupid. And then they arrive in Wales, and this is the first Doctor Who story filmed in Wales. It's the first story set in Wales, and they had to fuck it up. I mean,
in a way, you kind of see this story as being a little bit fortuitous and a bit premature to the new series, because obviously the new series would end up being filmed in Wales, which is kind of ironic, I suppose. But it doesn't make the story good. But I just think it's ironic.
Yeah, it's ironic in a bad way, because it's the first story set and filmed in Wales, and it's a complete waste. It's a complete waste. I mean, on the holiday site here, they go to Butlins in Wales, and it's the most run-down Butlins holiday site that I've ever seen. Like, you said as well, Ollie, it's like JNT said, let's just choose any old holiday site. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how chatty it is.
I mean, they don't have the budget, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Who fucking cares? I don't. By this point, I don't care. And they call it Shangri-La, and it's a completely false advertising. You know what? This is Shangri-La. Fuck off. Just fuck off. And the characters here are just terrible. Like, you got those two, American guys. You got Stubby K and this other guy. And they do nothing. They do absolutely nothing throughout the whole story. Like, they're just like, oh yeah, we're looking for this satellite. Have you seen this satellite? I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This is just terrible. They are the most pointless characters in Doctor Who. And I'm even going to go so far as to say they're even worse than Michael Clancy. They're just so annoying. They do nothing. They add absolutely nothing, for the story. I mean, at least Michael Clancy, there was a reason for him to be there. There is no reason for these two American guys to be in the story, and they add nothing to the story. They literally have no relevance to the story. And we've also got this stupid shit with a beekeeper. Like, we've got this beekeeper in the story for some fucking random reason, and the story just makes no sense. It's 3 parts, and it is 3 parts of absolute fucking drivel. Every time I watch this, my brain just goes in a fucking meltdown. It's like my brain shuts itself off, because I can't stand how brain dead this story is. Because whoever wrote this story, I think it was Malcolm Cole, well, he could go fucking, swallow a lump of coal as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's just awful. And the story as well, like with Billy, like, I mean, they try to add in this like forced, romantic relationship between Billy and Queen Delta, and it's just so bad, and there's no chemistry between them at all. Literally, the only scene they have together is like, he meets her in a cafe and then all of a sudden he's in love with her. And you know, all the soundtrack here is just terrible. Like the songs they use, like "We're gonna rock around the clock tonight," you know, all this shit. It's like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? You know, this is just so bad. I just, oh god. And I honestly don't understand why some people like this story. I know there's some people out there who enjoy this, and I just don't understand why. I mean, because I mean, I can understand people, you know, enjoying it for a fun romp, but it doesn't even know what it wants to be. It doesn't, like, you know, it has this clash of tones. It doesn't know whether it wants to focus on, you know, this campy 50s shit, or, you know, this, you know, serious storyline with Queen Delta. And it's just terrible. And oh my god, that scene with the green alien baby where you see it hatch, that is just disgusting. That just like, that is disgusting as fuck. And Mel screaming, it's like, oh fuck off, just fuck off. And then they get this toddler in this like green outfit, and they put some green face paint over it. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening to this show? Please, you know, please somebody save this show. You know, it's just, oh god, that's just so terrible. And the story, it just, you know, it trundles along. Like, you know, they try to have some action scenes in there with the Bannerman, and the Bannerman looks stupid. Like, there's that scene where they stick out their tongue and they're like, "Ugh!" It's just like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this story? And, you know, it's just, you know, there's that whole scene as well where the doctor's on the motorbike and he's got, you know, Mel, you know, beside him in the motorbike, and there's just so many bad scenes. Like, there's that whole scene where Gavrok is eating the meat, and he's, you know, I don't care. And, you know, Don Henderson, he's a good actor, but he's completely wasted here as Gavrok. And Gavrok, he's such a cliche villain. He's just like, oh, ha, 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 I am a bad guy. You know, he's just a stereotypical two-dimensional villain. And there's so many shitty scenes in here. Some of the acting here is horrible. Like, there's that agent trying to kill the doctor, and he's like, you know, doctor, I don't just kill people. It's also something I enjoy. Oh god, the acting there is so bad. And I mean, the character Ray, I mean, she's decent, I suppose, but the actress, you know, her performance isn't great. Who plays Ray? You know, the story is just I'm flabbergasted. I'm astounded at how bad this is. And there's all that stupid shit as well with you know, Delta's daughter, and you know, that all of a sudden the baby can grow up really quickly, and and we see that the baby, you know, the little girl screams, and it, you know, causes, you know, the windows to break, and and we see that, you know, Gavrok gets attacked by bees and shit. It's just like, this is just terrible. Like, it's just so bad. And, you know, the soundtrack, I mean, you know, just brilliant.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, what a great soundtrack. It's probably the worst, or one of the worst Doctor Who soundtracks, you know. Here's to the future, love is the answer. That's literally some of the lyrics in that song, and like, oh god, and just fucking, just, you know, kill me now, just fucking, god, it's just, oh, it's abysmal. It really is abysmal. Yeah. And you know,
I feel your pain, Jack. I feel your pain.
Yeah, and I don't understand what the story is about. I literally, you know, they never explain why Gavrok wants to kill Queen Delta. And, you know, McCoy tries. That's the only thing I could say. That's the only little glimmer of goodness in this pile of dog shit, you know. Sylvester McCoy, he tries, but the story itself just fucking, it can go suck a dick. It's so bad. And the ending of the story, I just think, is terrible. Just so bad, where literally they just, you know, they kill, you know, Delta, and, you know, sorry, they kill the Bannerman and Gavrok, you know, they all leave and whatever. And then you've got Billy decides that all of a sudden he loves, Queen Delta, and he injects himself with all this shit to become an alien, and it makes no sense. It's just, oh God, oh Jesus, just round of applause, well done, just into the fucking toilet. I'm just speechless. I'm speechless. I'm sorry if this rant's gone on a bit too long, but I'm sorry. I hate this. I despise it. I truly, deeply hate this story. Instead of Anakin saying, I truly, deeply love you, I truly, deeply hate this pile of shit. I don't like Delta and the Bannerman. It's coarse, rough, and irritating, and
I hadn't noticed.
And it annoys me that this story survives in the archives, but we don't have Power of the Daleks. If I had the option to get rid of all these episodes and get back all 6 episodes of Power of the Daleks, I'd do it any day. I'd do it just like that. It's just, this story for me has no merit whatsoever.
Amen.
I liked the question mark umbrella, but it's just a pile of shit. It is a pile of Jurassic shit. Like Jeff Goldblum said, that's one big pile of shit. And this is it's just terrible. So I'm going to close off by giving Delta and the Bannerman. I wish I could give it lower than this, but realistically, it's a 0 out of 10. And one thing I have to do.
Oh no, we lasted this long.
Jack, no.
I'll never let go, Jack. I'll never let go.
Yeah. Tomorrow is another day.
No.
Oh,
well, thank God we're at the very end of this season now. We've only got one story left.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Okay, so now that we're through getting raped,
really?
We're finally at the home stretch of this season. One story left. And thankfully, it's the best of the season by far. So.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. So, Alan, give us your thoughts on the first story for the new companion, Ace, and the final story for Bonnie Langford as Mel, and the final story this season, thank God, Dragonfire.
Sure. Hold on a minute. Yeah, considering the shitfest we've been subjected to so far in the Sylvester McCoy's era, now we come to the story that concludes McCoy's first season. And for this one, I'm going to bring out my DVD copy of it. There you go, Dragonfire on DVD.
Woo!
And I just want to say, Dragonfire, in my opinion, it's good! Yay!
Yay!
It's actually good!
Finally!
Oh, thank God! Finally. Now, I'm not going to say it's a classic. It's not. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It's not. But for me, this is the first genuinely good story in Sylvester McCoy's era. Sylvester McCoy is finally on the board at last.
Yeah.
Yes.
It ain't perfect, but it'll do.
Woo! Thank God. Oh, my God. We've been waiting all season for this, even though this season's only 4 stories. But yes, in my opinion, Sylvester McCoy finally scores his first genuinely good Doctor Who story. And it's about fucking time. My God. What took him so long? Yeah, finally. It's not a classic, but this is a genuinely good Doctor Who story overall, in my opinion. I think it helps that Dragonfire was shot entirely in the recording studio. There's no location footage for this. Entirely shot in the studio. So for me, it looks like a Doctor Who story. It feels like a Doctor Who story. It also moves along really well because it's kind of short. It's only 3 episodes, so it moves along really well. I love the whole look and the whole atmosphere to this story. And I have to hand it to the people behind the story. Yes, even you, J&T, finally gave us a good story. Finally, this season. But even though they were doing Doctor Who on a lower budget now, I have to say I think they really worked wonders with the production on this particular story because this is set on an ice planet, and I have to say I've always been very impressed with the sets in this story. I mean, the whole ice planet sets. I mean, I really did believe that the Doctor and company were in a very cold uh, environment. I believe that it was an ice planet. I think it has a wonderful atmospheric kind of feel to it, and I just think it's a much better story. This story was written by Ian Briggs, so well done, Ian Briggs. Chris Clow, I guess he finally got his directing act together, and he did a good job directing this story. So well done, Chris, that he finally got his act together in the director's chair. Um, and I just think it's a really cool, fun adventure. And I also like the characters. All the characters in the story, I think, are very good. The goodies, the baddies, they're all good. I like them. I even like the Dragonfire monster. Although the Dragonfire monster uh, looks like he's fashioned somewhat out of the big monster in the Aliens franchise. I mean, he's got the same body, although they gave the Dragonfire monster a much more polite-looking face, whereas the alien in Alien has a very terrifying face. But they seem to have the same body, the Dragonfire monster and the alien from Aliens. But they gave the Dragonfire monster a more polite looking face. And I also like the fact that the Dragonfire's monster's head opens up because I guess it's really a robot. It looks like a monster, but it's really an android of some sort. But yeah, its head can open up, and then we see the Dragonfire treasure inside the monster's head. I thought that was really cool. Um, but I just think it's a story that moves along really well. It has good atmosphere, good dialogue. There's really good characters here, and of course, it's worth noting this is the debut story for what would turn out to be the last companion of the classic Doctor Who series, and that's Ace, played by the very lovely, talented Sophie Aldred. She's basically a tomboy. She's a tomboy. I
Ace
mean,
is Ace.
hmm?
Ace is Ace.
Ace is Ace. Yeah, yeah. No, she's great. Sophie Aldred is great. She's really great. She's basically a tomboy character, although I think she will definitely get a little more in touch with her feminine side as her time with the Doctor goes on. Certainly in the next couple of seasons, we'll see that. But when we see her first out, I mean, she's a tomboy. She wears a leather jacket. She's got a bit of toughness, a little bit of spunk to her, and she also has a thing for making explosives. She likes to make explosives. So you don't want to mess with Ace. You don't want to piss off Ace. In fact, we see her get fired from her job in the restaurant on this planet because she gets mad at a customer, and I guess she pours water on a customer and gets herself fired. Uh, you know, so she's got a bit of a temper, which she needs to keep under control. Although as time goes on, she'll get it under control. I mean, she's definitely a companion who will definitely grow as a character as time goes on. And Sophie Aldred, I mean, she's just great in the role. Yeah, she's tough. Yeah, she's got a bit of attitude about her, and yet she's very loyal to the Doctor. They make a wonderful pair. She's a great addition to the team, and she's cute. She's definitely cute, and again, as time goes on, her character will definitely grow and mature. And I think she's a wonderful addition to the TARDIS. So yes, welcome aboard, Sophie Aldred. She's great. She is the final companion of the classic series, but she's a great final companion. So welcome aboard, Sophie Aldred as Ace. Yes, she is Ace, definitely. This is Bonnie Langford's final story as Mel. Well, we know perfectly well how we feel about the character of Mel. Bonnie Langford, I mean, she's good in this story, although she is allowed one horrible scream, I think, at the end of either episode 1 or episode 2. She gets one horrible scream because Mel, she's got to scream. They got to place a scream in there for Mel somewhere. She's good. I mean, it's a good performance other than that one terrible scream. But one of the things that I criticize Dragonfire about is that I really, truly don't like Mel's departure from the Doctor in this story, because she gives the Doctor no reason whatsoever for wanting to leave, none, and the Doctor doesn't ask her. I mean, they're in the TARDIS at the end of the story, and Mel just says, yeah, "Well, I guess it's time for me to be going," but she doesn't explain why, and the Doctor doesn't ask her. McCoy goes into that thing about, I only just met you, or I hadn't met you before, and now you're leaving, and or something of that nature. Because the funny thing about Mel and the Doctor is that she seems to have met him before they've really truly met, or something like that. I mean, you have to see the Trial of a Time Lord to know what I'm talking about.
And even then, it won't make sense.
Yeah, but again, the fact that Mel gives no reason whatsoever for wanting to leave, and the Doctor doesn't ask her, "Well, why do you want to leave me? Why do you want to go?" She gives no reason. I can only assume that she wants to go gallivanting around the universe with Glitz, because she goes off with Glitz. But she should have said that. She should have said something, or the Doctor should have at least asked her, "Why do you want to leave?" And no reason is given. She gives no reason. The Doctor doesn't ask her, and I think that was a mistake. So pretty much a lame exit for Mel. I'll just say one more time, I have nothing personal against Bonnie Langford. She's a very talented actress, and she's an attractive lady besides, and I like that cute pixie-ish kind of voice that she has. But the character was a total damsel in distress, just a screamer, just screaming her head off. Especially in Time of the Rani, and she was just, I think, the poorest written of all the Doctor Who companions. I mean, Dodo from William Hartnell's era is not a particularly memorable companion, but I thought she was a lot better than Mel, much better than Mel, and a lot more appealing than Mel, Dodo. But Mel, just not the best written of Doctor Who companions, but I know Bonnie Langford did her best under not very good circumstances. So Bonnie Langford, I know you tried, so thank you for your contribution to Doctor Who. As for the supporting cast, I'm really happy they brought back Tony Selby as Sabalon Glitz. We saw him previously in Trial of a Time Lord, and I guess the response to the character was good enough that they wanted to bring Glitz back for another story. And I like Glitz, and I like Tony Selby in the role. I think he's very amusing. He was certainly one of the things that I did like very much about Trial of a Time Lord. I'm not the biggest fan of Trial of a Time Lord. I mean, I give that whole epic a marginal pass. But one thing I did like about Trial of a Time Lord was Glitz. So I'm very happy that they brought him back for this story. He's a very likable character. I think Tony Selby plays the part well. And just as I thought he had good chemistry with Colin Baker, I think he also has good chemistry with McCoy. And yeah, it's great to see him along for the adventure for this one. So nice to have Tony Selby back one more time as Glitz. I thought the villain was great. Kane, played by Edward Peel, this tall kind of guy, and he has a lot of presence about him. I think it's good. I also like the all white outfits that he and the people who work under him have to wear. They've got the white helmets, they got the all white suits, and that seems to fit the ice planet world that they live on. We've got this steam that's all around them, and the white outfits seem to suit them really well. They look good in the suits. But yeah, I thought Edward Peel was quite commanding as Kane. Strong performance from him. He's a good physical presence. I also liked his exit where he sacrifices himself and he basically melts. There's a really cool melting special effect, which is like right out of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I'm sure was the inspiration for that visual effect where we see Kane literally melt away. But it's done really well and it's very effective. Patricia Quinn plays, I guess, a soldier named Balaz. And Patricia Quinn, you probably know her best for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And if you like Monty Python, she also appeared in Monty Python's Meaning of Life. She played John Cleese's wife in the sex education scene. I still don't know how she managed to do that scene, but that was very brave of her to do it with John Cleese. But yeah, Patricia Quinn, very talented actress, and she gives good support here as Balaz. She was quite good. I guess, as I've said, I love the design of the creature who houses the Dragonfire treasure. However, another criticism that everybody makes about Dragonfire, and yes, even I have to criticize it, is that everybody talks about the one dumb cliffhanger, the literal cliffhanger, where we see McCoy hanging off a cliff, holding onto his umbrella. And although I thought Chris Clowe's direction of this story overall was very good, he really fucked up during that scene. And I'm not the first Doctor Who fan to say that, because it just appears that the Doctor, for no particular reason, he's traveling down this path in an ice cavern, and he looks over the side of the cliff, and then for some unexplained reason he decides to climb down. He hooks his umbrella on the side and climbs down the umbrella, and decides to willingly hang off the side of the cliff on his umbrella for no particular reason. And of course now he's starting to lose his grip on the umbrella, and he's starting to slide off the umbrella, and that's your cliffhanger. When in fact, what was supposed to have happened is that the Doctor, he reaches a dead end in that path that he's on in the ice cavern, and so he looks downward and he sees this lower level that he can possibly reach. So what the Doctor was trying to do is that he was trying to climb down to that lower level by using his umbrella to climb down to the lower level and continue on his path. But the way that scene is staged, you don't pick up on that at all. It just looks like the Doctor is deciding to go, I think I'll just hang off the cliff by my umbrella for no particular reason. It's staged very, very badly. And I think that scene went out because nobody caught the error until it was too late, until the show had already gone out, or maybe it was just about to go out and it was far too late to fix the scene. So it just had to go out as is. But the scene clearly doesn't work. It was staged very badly, and it's a blemish on an otherwise very good Doctor Who story, I think. So yeah, overall, I really like Dragonfire. I like it a lot. For me, this is the first genuinely good story for Sylvester McCoy. He finally got one, in my opinion, thank God. So at least this season, as bad as it's been, at least for me, it wasn't a total washout, that we do get a very good story, at least in my opinion, a very good story at the end. J&T finally got a hold of himself as producer, it seems. It's very good, very enjoyable, and again, it moves along at 3 episodes. I love the look of the story, the whole ice planet environment. I totally believe that they were in an ice world, and I believe that it was a very cold environment. I love the design of the dragon creature. It's great to have Glitz back. Sophie Aldred is wonderful as the new companion Ace. Farewell to Bonnie Langford as Mel. Sorry, the character wasn't particularly well written. But overall, it's very good. The only criticisms I have of Dragonfire is the lame scene with the Doctor hanging from the cliff with his umbrella, and the poorly executed exit for Mel. But otherwise, I like this story very much. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I could probably be satisfied by giving Dragonfire a high 7 out of 10, but I'm going to be nice because I really like the story, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a low 8 as opposed to a high 8, but I'm going to give Dragonfire nonetheless a 8 out of 10. And congratulations, Sylvester McCoy. You finally scored your first good story. Yay!
Okay, thanks for that, Alan. And now we move on to Ollie, your opinion on Dragonfire.
Well, okay, Dragonfire. Well, I will agree that this is the best of the season by far. Well, it doesn't have much competition. Let's be real. But unfortunately, I don't think the story is great. It's okay. It'll do, but I was kind of hoping for something a bit better, to be honest. For me, it's just kind of a filler story. There isn't too much to it other than obviously the beginning of Ace and the end of Mel. The world in which the story is set on is really cool. The sort of ice world, I think, is great, and also the silliness of the climbing scene, the literal cliffhanger. It's just stupid. The fact that the Doctor, he just goes over there and decides to climb down. Yeah, I just think some of the story elements and some of the directions were a little bit stupid. And I know there were I think there was 2 different versions which were edited, one for TV and one for the DVDs. So the continuity is kind of all over the place, to be honest. So yeah, but that scene really is just stupid, and it ruins the story a bit for me. However, I did quite like the introduction of Ace. You know, Ace is Ace, as I've always said. Sophie Aldred is Ace, who will go on to be the last classic companion, and one of the best. I think Ace is definitely one of the best companions, and easily McCoy's best companion. They have such a good rapport together, and this is really the beginning for them. And I like her very much, and she's the total opposite to Mel, which is helpful. Um, I mean, we haven't seen the best of Sophie Aldred just yet, but oh, it will come. It will come. There's still 2 more seasons, so yeah. But as for Mel, I suppose this is Bonnie Langford's best performance. You know, she tries her best to do something with the part before she leaves. I think her exit is okay. It's a bit slapdash. It's done a bit quickly, but I don't really mind. I mean, to be honest, no one cares about the character anyway, so I suppose it doesn't matter too much. But you know, I still appreciate Bonnie Langford's efforts to try and make this character somewhat plausible and somewhat entertaining to watch. But it does feel rather abrupt at the end when she does go. But you know, it's, you know, obviously it didn't really work, but that's just me. And as far as the dragons are concerned, I thought the design was a bit weird because they don't really look like dragons. They I can't even remember, to be honest. It's been a while since I've seen it. I just remember being kind of befuddled a bit by the design choice for the aliens. And like I said, and also don't they bring back another character? What's the character's name from the Mysterious Planet? Glitz. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Glitz. He just seemed completely unnecessary to the story. I don't know really why he was in it, but you know, that's that. And also for me, the story dragged quite a lot. I found that some of the story to be slow. I know it's only 3 parts, but for me, it didn't really retain my interest all that much. But, you know, it's not terrible. It's certainly the best of the season. But for me, it was underwhelming. So I guess I'll have to score it a mediocre 5 out of 10. But that's as high as it goes for me in this season. So, yeah, but I kind of like... Sorry?
I was going to say, so kind of a washout season.
Yeah, pretty much. Unfortunately, but I did like I said, I like the introduction of Ace and seeing how she sort of starts out as this waitress on this planet, and I think the character of Astrid from Voyage of the Damned was kind of based on Ace a little bit in terms of her roots, in terms of her starting as a waitress. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll get to Astrid when we talk about David Tennant. But yeah, that's kind of my thought, really.
But at least you didn't hate it.
Okay.
So.
No, I didn't hate it, and I'm sorry I couldn't be more detailed, but I just don't remember as much of the story as you guys do. I've only seen it once, so yeah. But it was by all accounts okay. It was. I mean, it will do compared to the other 3. It will do.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, as for Dragonfire, well, I think I'm more in agreement with Alan on this story. I think Dragonfire is the first good McCoy story.
Yay.
Yeah, and although it's not perfect, I don't think it's a perfect story, but I do enjoy Dragonfire. I think this episode's got a lot of imagination, which I quite like. It's got a lot of stuff going on there. I do like the concept of Ice World, and I do think Ice World itself looks pretty cool. And as for the main, villain in the story, Kane, I think Kane is a very good villain, and it's kind of interesting how he has to stay in a constant cold temperature. Otherwise, if it gets too warm, he dies. And I like the stuff here with the people that he owns. That we see that at one point he offers Ace to take his coin and join him. So I thought Kane was an interesting character. Of course, this is the story that introduces the one and only Ace, played by Sophie Aldred, and Ace is definitely one of my favourite companions. We go from one of the worst companions in Mel to one of the best companions in Ace, and she's very good here. Like, we see that she I think they reveal that she was caught up in a time storm or something like that, and that's why she ended up in Ice World, and now she's a waitress. And there is some funny scenes in here. I did like that scene where she's talking to that lady, and the lady's complaining about her order, and he said, "Oh, I bet you never had a milkshake, tipped over your head," and she puts a milkshake on her head, which is quite funny. So Ace is quite she's quite bold as a character, which I like, and I think Sophie Aldred is very likable, and we see that she knows about explosives like Nitro 9 essentially, and she says, at one point she's going to blow up the door of the Nitro, which is quite good. So I do like Ace. I mean, she has a nice jacket as well, which is quite cool, with all the badges and stuff, and it says Ace on the back. I mean, her real name isn't Ace; it's Dorothy, but she refers herself to Ace, and I think it's kind of cute the way she calls a doctor the professor. She doesn't call a doctor the doctor in the story. She calls him the professor, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I mean, the story itself, I think the pacing is pretty good, and I think the dragon looks pretty cool, though it turns out to be like a robot or something like that, and they're looking for some treasure. Bringing back Glitz, it's kind of pointless to be honest. I mean, the character Glitz, he's all right, but you didn't really need to bring him back for the story. And the story itself, it does have some dramatic moments in there, like the whole stuff with Ace, and the fact that Kane offers Ace to join him, and the fact that one of Kane's followers, she wants to leave Kane, and in the end she gets killed. So I mean, Kane is quite a ruthless character, and we see at one point that Glitz, I think he sold out his crew, and one of them is zombified, and he's trying to kill Glitz, which is quite funny. And you have the Doctor and all, on the ice slipping about, which was quite nice. And I really like the whole look of Ice World, the sort of cold, atmosphere, and the whole look of it is really good. And I mean, the only criticism of the story that I would give it, I mean, there's a few criticisms, but one of the criticisms would be, I think the cliffhanger, the literal cliffhanger where the Doctor is hanging, it's just stupid. I'm sorry. I mean, Andrew Cartmel explained that in the original script, apparently the Doctor, he reached a point where he couldn't go back, so he had to climb down the cliff. But it doesn't really make sense when it's shown on TV. It just looks like the Doctor randomly decides, oh, you know what, I'm gonna hang myself off the cliff, to have a literal cliffhanger where he's hanging onto his umbrella. So that was kind of dumb, and they did reuse that scene in Name of the Doctor. Clara comes to see the Doctor, and she's there when he's hanging from the cliff. But yeah, I mean, the story itself, I think the pacing is pretty good for the most part. Uh, it's not the most remarkable story in the world. I've definitely seen better, and I think there's definitely much better stories to come in the next couple of seasons. But for what it is, I think it's an enjoyable story. The soundtrack here I actually quite like. I think the soundtrack here is much better than the garbage that we got in the previous three stories. And McCoy, I think he works very well with Ace, and we do have some nice moments there. This being Mel's last story, again, she has to scream, which is kind of annoying, and it's annoying as well. We never really found out how Mel joined the Doctor in the first place. I mean, the Doctor says, "Oh, I haven't even met you yet," and I just think the character of Mel was such wasted potential. I mean, they say in the show that she's a computer programmer, but we never see her on a computer. It'd be nice if she could like hack computers and stuff, but she doesn't. All she does is just scream and scream and scream and scream and scream. So definitely, probably the worst classic series companion, not the worst companion of all time. That goes to Clara in the new series, but Mel. I mean, Bonnie Langford. She tried, but the character is just crap. She just wasted potential. All she is a screamer, quite frankly. Her exit, I didn't mind it. I mean, I don't know. She never explains why she wants to leave, which is kind of a shame. But I did like the bit where the Doctor says, "Oh, remember me? Time Lord of his days, like crazy paving or something like that. That was nice. And he says goodbye to Mel, and then we see that she goes with Glitz at the end, and we see that the doctor says, "Oh, I can bring you along with me, and and have you back in Perryville in time for tea." And she says, "Ace," which is quite nice. And I did like the effects sequence where you saw Kane's face melt, and they did say that that was a reference to Raiders of the Lost Ark. And apparently, how they did it was they got some, basically got some blow dryers for your hair, and they put it on the wax, and that's what made the face fall apart. And yeah, it's a very good special effect, nice homage to Raiders of the Lost Ark. And yeah, I mean, my only criticism of the story is the story is a little bit thin. They're just looking for this treasure or whatever it is. And, the story isn't the best in the world. You don't really need to bring back Glitz, and just some things in there that were stupid, like that whole cliffhanger, the literal cliffhanger, doesn't make any sense. It's a really dumb sequence, but McCoy's good. I think Sophie Aldred's great as Ace in her first performance, and she'll get even better as the show goes along and become one of the best companions. And we'll get a lot more into her character as the next season comes along, with stories like Greatest Show in the Galaxy, and then later on with Survival and Curse of Fenric and all that, and then in McCoy's last season. So, in conclusion, I think Dragonfire, it's a good story, but it's nothing more than that. It's good, but it has its flaws. So I'm going to close off by giving Dragonfire a 7 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of Dragonfire, and yeah, that's it for season 24. Thank God we're at the end of this season, and I'm gonna hand the mic over now to Alan. Give us your rating.
It was rough.
Ratings and yeah, it was rough, but yeah. So, Alan, give us your overall thoughts on the season, your rating and ranking of the season as well. So, take it away.
Okay, well, I can only say that thank the Lord that there was at least one good story in this season, so it wasn't a total failure for me. But the fact is that there is, for me, only one good story out of four. That's really sad. I mean, this is clearly the worst season of Doctor Who I've ever seen. It's that bad overall. I mean, my heart totally goes out to Sylvester McCoy, because I mean, geez, he was the brand new Doctor, and they gave him such a horrible start. I mean, not one, not two, but three bad stories in a row before he finally got a good one. But okay, he finally got a good one at the end. I know Ollie's not as crazy about this story, but I think Dragonfire is McCoy's first genuinely good story, and McCoy will get a few more good stories before the end. So he has a handful, literally a handful of stories that I personally like quite a bit, and he will improve as the Doctor. I mean, I do think he is a very good Doctor overall. He is quite likable. I mean, as I said in my reviews of his stories, I mean, I think McCoy has a very puppy dog, eager to please quality about his Doctor, and he is very hobo-ish, like Patrick Troughton. So he's got that going for him. But it's just a shame that he came into the show at a time when so much shit was going on behind the scenes, and the storytelling quality was going down, the budget was going down, the overall quality of the show was going down, and McCoy, he did his best. Lord knows he did his best, but he couldn't save the show. But he certainly tried. He gave it his best shot, and for 3 seasons, and he will have a handful of good stories before the end. As far as his first season out of the gate, yeah, overall a bad season of Doctor Who. I give Time in the Rani 1 out of 10. Paradise Towers just gets an average 5 out of 10. Delta and the Bannermen 2 out of 10. And then finally, a good story for McCoy, Dragonfire, which I give an 8 out of 10. So out of a possible 40, that only adds up to 16 out of 40 for me. I mean, that's not even at the halfway mark. So it's a bad season of Doctor Who. It's really a bad season. And yeah, clearly J&T just doesn't give a shit anymore. He wants to leave, but he can't. He's being forced to stay because nobody wanted the job of producing Doctor Who by this point. So he had no choice but to stay. There will be a handful of stories that are good for McCoy, but J&T is clearly getting bored. He wants to leave. He doesn't care. And I mean, just like Ollie said in his rant of Time in the Rant, he thought this was good enough. I agree. I mean, it's shocking. He thought that story was good enough. I mean, really? I mean, he clearly didn't care anymore. I mean, it's pretty obvious. So it's.
And I think he was fed up with the politics of the show as well. The behind the scenes drama that was going on for the last however many years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'd stayed a little too long, but now he had no choice but to stay because nobody else wanted the job at this point, so he had to stay. But yeah, classic Doctor Who is clearly on the way out. But okay, we've got 2 more seasons left with McCoy before the end. And at least, okay, for this season, for me, Dragonfire was the one good story out of this season, and McCoy will have a few more good stories before the end. But yeah, classic Doctor Who is on the way out. That's just the fact of the matter. Even though McCoy, bless his heart, he's trying. He's certainly trying. At least now he has a much better companion in the form of Ace, played by Sophie Aldred, and they will make a really good pair for the next 2 seasons, which is definitely a positive thing. As far as how I would rank these 4 stories, well, that's pretty easy. At number 4, Time in the Rani. Number 3, Delta and the Bannermen. Number 2, Paradise Towers. And number 1, Dragonfire. So welcome aboard, Sylvester McCoy. I'm sorry you inherited a sinking ship, but I know you're giving it your best. And he does have a handful of good stories that I like. So for better or for worse, welcome aboard, McCoy. And hopefully next season will be better. I think it will be a little bit better than this first season.
Well, thank you, Alan. And now we move on to Ollie, your overall thought.
Oh, season 24. Well, oh, Jesus, what a car crash. My God. This is a very bad season of Doctor Who. Probably the worst season of Doctor Who up to this point. And that's sad. That's really sad. Probably the worst of the classic series. It's just it's it really is the beginning of the end. And like you say, J&T doesn't give a shit anymore. He wants to leave. He's had enough. McCoy tried his best, with the exception of his first story. Mel goes, which I suppose is good. Ace is here to stay, which is nice, but we had 3 stories in a row, a hat trick of shit stories before we got to, in my opinion, what was just okay, Dragonfire. So
it's a hat trick. 3 goals in a row.
Yeah. Quite a feat.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel bad for McCoy. Out of its 3 seasons, this is easily the worst. There's not much competition, really. So it's in terms of like ratings and rankings. Well, this is a very easy one for me. Number 4, I would put Time in the Rani, obviously at 0 out of 10. Number 3 is Delta and the Bannerman, 0 out of 10. Number 2, Paradise Towers at 3 out of 10. And number 1 is Dragonfire at 5 out of 10. So basically, that adds up to a total of 8. Yes, you heard it right. 8 out of 40, which is the worst score I have given thus far.
Ouch.
Yeah. Sadly, it doesn't even make double figures. It might have done if I'd have liked Dragonfire more. If I'd have given Dragonfire a 7, it would have just made 10, which would have been a quarter of the way there. But even so, that still would have been a bad score. So it's basically half of what Alan rates it. Yeah, this is a shocking season of Doctor Who. It's a real shame that the passion just isn't really there anymore. And even though McCoy's trying his best. It's just not working at the moment. But thankfully, the next 2 seasons will improve, so it's not all doom and gloom. It's going to get better, even momentarily. But of course, we know that the classic series is on a limited lifespan now, and it's about to run out. So yeah, but season 24 is a season I would happily disregard and not touch with a barge pole ever again. Maybe Dragonfire, but even then, that's a very loose, very loose statement. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I was hugely disappointed by this season, and for me, it's pretty awful. It's probably the worst season of Classic Who, and arguably one of the worst seasons of the show. So yeah, that's my verdict. But thankfully, season 25 it will be a bit better.
Well, thanks, Ollie. Season 24. Yep, it sucks. This really is a terrible season of Doctor Who, and by far the worst season of the classic series. There's only 3 stories in here that are just terrible, and there's only one I like, and yeah, I mean, as for how I'd rate and rank it, well, at number 4, the bottom would be Delta and the Bannerman at 0 out of 10. The number 3 would be Time of the Rani at 0 out of 10. The number 2 would be Paradise Towers at 3 out of 10. And then number 1 would be Dragonfire at 7 out of 10. So 10 out of 40 is my rating of this season. So 25%.
Ouch again.
Yeah. Yeah, I like 25% of this season. That's not saying much. Yeah.
Yeah, Alan, take comfort in the fact that you're the biggest champion of season 24.
I guess so, yeah. I didn't intend to be, but yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, and it's a real shame, really, because Doctor Who at this point was just dreadful. And you can tell how bad this season is because both me and Ollie gave 2 of the stories in this season 0. So half of this season we gave 0. So that tells you how bad this season is. But yeah.
I gave a story 1 out of 10. I gave another story 2 out of 10. So that's bad.
Yeah, very bad. But it's not the end, thank God. It's not the last season of Classic Who, but we're getting there. So next time we're going to be reflecting on the penultimate season of Classic Who, the 25th anniversary season, season 25, which will be a lot better, thankfully. So is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap up, or?
No, I think that's it.
Season.
Yeah, I can't think of anything except looking forward to seeing what stories they give McCoy for his second season. We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah. So thank you all guys for watching, and thank God this season is over. Thank God we got this reflection out of the way. Finally we get the shit of the season away. But yeah,
really. Shovel that shit away.
Yeah, flush it down the toilet and never look back. So yeah, see you guys next time. So bye.
Bye.
Adios, amigos. And